What's up, everyone? My name is Andres Gamboa, and I am the host of the Ponytails podcast. Thank you for listening. If this is your first time, we interview people who sold books door to door with Southwestern Advantage, a company that recruits college kids to go door to door and sell kids' books to families who need help with homework and education. Uh, been around since like 1868, and there's probably 100,000 living alumni of that program in that internship sales program. They went when they started way back then. So now we do what we do best and just chat, connect, and see what they're up to now. It's kind of fun. So every one of our guests has done this program, and they're here to share with you all sorts of different ideas about entrepreneurship, about parenting, about growth, marriage, you name it. We've had them all on here, as well as some fun stories about experiences that you can't imagine from people going door to door. So my guest today is no different. He's actually one of my favorite bookmen that I ever got the pleasure of meeting and working with, Dillon Barr. He sold for 5 summers with the TD organization. We are estimated between 2010 or 2011. He can't quite remember. Went to the Central Michigan University and is originally from Port Huron, Michigan. His favorite squirrel from the Ogden Bible that we used to read is number 7, I Will Laugh at the World. And he's currently doing consulting for high ticket sales, along with a bunch of other things that we are here to talk about. So when I come back, I will be on with my buddy, one of the funniest dudes ever. Stick around if you want to have an ab workout of laughter, Dillon Barr. Ponytails Podcast.
Holy shit.
What's up,
That's a
dude?
full intro. That's a full intro. I love that. You guys have done so much since the 23rd episode, which I was also on.
Yeah, 160 episodes ago, my friend.
Holy shit, dude.
Something close. 160-ish episodes.
Congrats.
Pretty crazy.
Congrats, man.
Hey, we're doing this countdown approaching 200. So it's gonna be a blast. You're actually our second to last episode of season 7. So some big changes are still coming up. Every season we try to make a big change and a big move forward. That's kind of our quarterly goal. That's when seasons come out. And yeah, so we've had a couple seasons since then. I appreciate the love though. Pretty nice.
Season 7?
Yeah.
I also heard I was the best episode of season 7. Someone was telling me that the other day. They hadn't even watched this yet.
But they told you? Yeah. I
they're like, man, I heard you're the best episode of season 7 already. I was like, yeah,
honestly,
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Honestly, you're gotta be in the top. You gotta be in. There's a lot to catch up on. We had at this point, by the time this airs, people would have heard about the lawyer that sued all of Oklahoma pretty much for corruption. We've had an abortion on the book field. We've had. Yeah, it's been
I shouldn't laugh at that, man.
Wild. No, I mean, it's just crazy the variety of things that we hear about. We've had people who survived the mortgage fall of 08, people doing creating apps. It's been a blast. So, and
all right, I'll take top 10. I'll take top 10 of season 7 then, man. I won't take number 1 spot.
There's only 9 episodes. There's only 9 episodes of season, so I'm kidding.
I'll take it. I'll take top 10. Jeez,
so
man,
for sure,
boring.
top 10. Dude, well, first of all, let's catch up. Since last time we talked to you, things have changed for you quite a bit, and you've been on your creative, probably. I mean, listen, since I've known you, you've been one of the most creative people I know. I mean, your book and the things that you've done in the past have exude creativity. But honestly, I have to say, you're probably at in my opinion, the peak of your powers when it comes to your creativity right now with everything that you got cooking. So I'm gonna just start from the top of things I know about you, and then the things I don't know as much about. We mentioned high ticket sales consulting. So walk me through what that's been like for you. Where did you learn that, and some of the things you've learned about that since you've been on this crazy. I mean, because I know you're killing it. I know you are, but someone who might not know you might not know. So tell me about high ticket sales.
Yeah, man. So I think you said like the journey to high ticket sales. And if I cut out, man, I apologize. I'm currently on my honeymoon. So it's an 18-day honeymoon. My wife, also book girl, book woman. Her and I are coming back. We lived in, which I'm going to tell you about in my journey. We lived in Kenya for about 3 years. So we're actually back where we lived in Kenya. So Niaje Wasi, for any Kenyans that are listening to this that sold books somehow. But if I cut out, that's why, man. I'm connected to Wi-Fi here. So I sold books for 5 summers, And from there, my wife, Morgan Franke, again, sold books. She went into school for international development originally. She's always been into like international development stuff. She worked with Interact when she was in high school, which is a breakdown of Rotary. And then she started the Rotaract Club at Michigan State University. So when I was selling books, I had this huge crush on her. I had no fucking idea what Rotary was or Rotaract was. So I'm like, I'm going to start a Rotaract Club at Central Michigan University just to get this lady's attention. Clearly it worked. But
Nailed it.
She's always been in international development. We sold books. We both sold books for 5 summers, interlapping. And at her last, when she finished selling, went on to work for Great American for like a year. Didn't really like that, and she was looking for work, and she got recruited for a company called Whitman Roy Partnership, which is a transformational sales consulting company for socially minded businesses. So they worked mostly in developing countries with these small startups started by like Ivy League grads, like Harvard grads, Emory grads, Stanford grads. I don't know if those are Ivy League schools, Oxford grads, and that would come up with these fucking sweet ideas to like help like create sustainable products like small scale solar units, but also stimulate these economies of developing countries. The problem was they didn't know how to fucking sell. I think we're at 2. Yeah, 3, man. Fuck. So they would hire Whitman Roy Partnership to come in and teach them how to sell. So we'd come in, do a transformational training, teach them how to sell. But I worked for Whitman Roy Partnership for 3 years, and I started off as a field consultant. So what we would do is we would come in and train a company how to sell. We would have like a week-long sales training. And then most people, like you come in and train something, most people are going to fucking forget what they learned in, like, I think the stat is like 2 or 3 weeks. You forget everything you learned in a training. So what Whitman Roy Partnership did was they said, hey, let's keep a consultant in the field. We'll embed a consultant to follow these people every day to make sure they're practicing our training and really embed it. So I did that. I was a field consultant for the first year and a half, and then I got promoted to be a delivery consultant. So I was the person that would go and do what we would call discovery. So I would go to a certain country. So for instance, I went to Cote d'Ivoire, and I would spend a week just understanding everything about the business, interviewing the sales division, interviewing the marketing division, the fulfillment division, the finance division, and trying to figure out like, hey, what is it that you guys are doing well? What is it that you guys suck at? And what could we train you on? And then I would design the training, put together a training, and then I'd embed a field consultant that I would then train. Does that make any sense? First, like,
yeah, that totally makes sense. That's genius. That's a solid.
So,
I mean, I'm like, as a book person, I can already see how this easily can become a very profitable thing for you, just because the training that we got,
super fun, and we got paid well for living in like Kenya. For living in Africa, we got paid well.
Sure.
But if I were to live in the States getting paid what I was getting paid, it just didn't make a lot of sense. So when I did this for 3 years, I started learning like certain frameworks on how to look at a company. We talked a lot about controllables. WRP had this acronym called RACE, RACE, and it was an equation: R equals A plus C plus E. Results equal attitude plus competence plus execution. Very similar to what we learned in the book field, right? Control the controllables. So I learned that framework, read some really good books, The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge. And I learned kind of like, really write it down, right? If you write that down, Peter Senge, The Fifth Discipline. No, man, but I learned a bunch about how like a company starts up and what they should really be focusing on. And then after a while, we were kind of sick of living in Africa because you can't really go out at night, can't really go grab a beer with friends. We moved back to the States. Like I said, wasn't getting paid what I'd like to get paid living in Colorado versus Kenya, and then doing a bunch of travel. So I decided to change. I've always wanted to write books, which we're going to probably talk about on this podcast. And I worked with I worked with this startup, high ticket sales company called Self Publishing School. I came in initially as their head of sales and sales rep. I put some systems in place, and then I shifted over to sales rep. and I helped them scale. And I basically took a lot of the frameworks that I learned with Whitman Roy Partnership, but infused some of my own learnings of this high ticket world and how it operates. Like, you know about it, man. You're making playbooks and shit.
Well,
Learned as much as
so
I could here, and then brought it to high ticket. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, let me pause there. So, because obviously, and I work with SPS too. By the way, shout out to them. They're great company. Go check them out if you are thinking about writing a book. Quick shout out
Love
there.
USPS.
And we'll probably get into some of those details because that's part of your journey. But I do want to ask you, because there was a different type of business or a different type of sale. The concepts were all the same, right? It's a numbers game, right? Attitude, but like that shit that most people hear about on their first day of sales school was all there. But what do you think were the biggest differences or things that you realize, oh man, I didn't learn this with Southwestern, right? There, some people I've asked this before, and they mentioned like referrals. Like we never really got taught referrals, selling door to door. It was just more just going door to door. Other people have
Mm-hmm.
mentioned how some sales aren't like in 20 minutes. Sometimes like a real estate transaction takes a little longer, and so adjusting to that. So in your mind, with that experience, what were some of the biggest differences or things that you had to kind of learn from scratch as you were building these strategies to help these companies explode in sales?
Yeah, are you talking about high ticket sales versus selling books door to door?
Sure, yeah. I mean, even
Yeah,
and
yeah,
some
yeah.
kids might be listening to this going, "Oh, $1,000 the bag. That's a high ticket sales." No, we're talking like multiple tens
Yeah,
of thousands sometimes, like big
high
tickets.
ticket sales is typically like the best way to describe high ticket sales is people pay for a course and coaching for a specific period of time. Most high ticket sales, you pay for a course and like coaching, whether one on one or group coaching, for like 3 to 6 months. The companies that I worked with, they typically extend it to a year, and then they'll do MRR, monthly recurring revenue. People can continue to pay monthly if they want to kind of stay in it. It's kind of like a new way to like describe schools or universities. Like, hey, I want to just pay monthly tuition and continue to learn, continue to go to class. So the
Yeah.
companies that I work with, their price points would range anywhere between 6,800 and now upwards of like 50K. But average order value, I'd say is about 8,800. Um, Man, the biggest
Yeah.
things that
And
I
this is
learned
all online, right? This
all
is
online.
all online. Okay, yeah. Which is also a big different uh, you know,
Huge.
yeah.
I
Sorry
think
to interrupt that, just for people
no,
to
man.
understand.
You could do it from anywhere, which is awesome. We have clients that were in Africa. I remember selling someone from Kenya when I was with self-publishing school, which was really cool. It's full circle. Man, the biggest thing that I learned is the power like of marketing, like how you
Mm,
can actually bring marketing of your top of funnel to these sales calls. We had
mm,
at self-publishing school, we had a credible head of marketing, but being able to use like paid ads. I mean, we did a little bit when we were using our Facebook pages and like boosting posts, but it's a huge difference to like when you like step out into, I guess, the real world, if you want to say that. But
yeah, no, it
people that
is. We
pay
say that.
people that pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a month for paid ads to bring people to a webinar that they can learn, that bring people to an application page, that bring people to a sales call. So being a sales rep or an SDR, you're working with so many more warm leads, people that already know about you. They've went through kind of the pipeline. They've been nurtured as they go through this marketing pipeline. They've been taking in, whether it's emails or videos. They've been going to your website, a bunch of organic content. So that was big. And then the other one that was just really cool is just having a fulfillment process where you can stay in touch with the people that are going through it to actually get that feedback. So I think
Yeah.
with Southwestern, it was like, hey, here are your books. I'll give you a quick demo when I deliver, and then you're on your own. Hopefully, you use these.
Yeah,
Um,
good luck.
but with this, with high ticket, at least what I've been working with high ticket, it's you're bringing someone in, and then they're going over to, we call it fulfillment, right? Because we want to fulfill on our promise to them. They're going through a fulfillment process, um, where someone's kind of staying in touch with them. Hey, how you doing? Hey, you're teaching them things that they need to learn, and then collecting NPS scores, which are NPS ratings, which I'm sure you get as well, right? Net promoter scores. So
Mhm.
you can actually get feedback on, hey, are you satisfied with what we're giving you? If yes, why? If no, why? So if you're getting the yes whys, you're like, okay, we can lean into this of what we're doing on fulfillment and what we're talking about on sales. And if we're getting this, like, hey, people are not feeling fulfilled, and here's our biggest challenge, we can focus on this and change it. So it's just like this ever evolving product, which was different
Mm.
than selling books that for the most part, haven't changed. I don't even know if they changed when we said Common Core. Like when we were like, yeah, Common Core sucks. But I don't think the books changed.
No, they were, since they switched to the black books, they've been the same black books. I mean, I'm obviously updated to include other current events like Trump being president or whatever historical events, but for the most part, like, yeah, they're still the same old, set of 6 black books.
Crazy.
Which is great. It's fine. So
crazy,
on the, and while I have you here, and this is great because you're doing consulting now for high takers. We'll get to thought leader in a second, but since we're here at this topic, if someone's listening to this and they're about to launch a course or they're about to launch something similar and with high ticket sales, what if you had like 3 to 5 like main, just like do's and don'ts, if you will, in any order, do you have anything like that you could kind of shed some light on?
That's a really good question. And kind of bleeds into what I'm doing at Thought Leader now, because I transitioned over to Thought Leader to same thing I did at self-publishing school, to kind of put sales foundations in place, put together their playbooks, put together their onboarding process, kind of teach them, hey, here's the philosophy of a sales conversation. I don't like to call it a script, but like put that in. And then I've now moved on to being in charge of one of their products called Business Accelerator. So helping people start their business, right? Start like an online business. So exactly to your question, man, some of the things that I'll teach people, I think one of the things you don't want to do is just go like have a value proposition. I think for the longest time, people would talk about that. Like, what's your value prop? It's like, oh, I provide this. I teach people how to scale their business from stage, or I teach people how to do, how to get over. No, that wouldn't be the way to describe it. I teach people the importance of inner confidence to scale themselves and their business. Like that's the value that you provide, right? So I would say there's so many people that try to provide a value proposition. We've got into this world now where you can buy, there's a bunch of different options of what you'd want to purchase, right? It's like you can choose to buy books door to door, you can choose to buy something else. So the buyers have a lot more power. So when you try to put across your value proposition of, oh, this is me and this is what I do, you sound like any other fucking high ticket salesperson out there. You're like, okay, I get it. You're trying to sell me something. So I would say don't start with a value proposition. I would say start with a problem proposition. This is something that I learned with Whitman Roy Partnership, is like, what challenge do you actually solve for people out there? Like, what challenge are people going through? What is the impact or the cost if they don't fucking solve it? And then how can you then help them? So it's like, hey, I'm Dillon. I work with, new entrepreneurs about the challenges they're having when it comes to sales or marketing in a new startup business, and how much it could be costing them. Well, then someone goes, oh, fuck, I have those challenges. I'd love to talk to you about it. Whether you can help me or not, like, I'd love to talk to you about it. People want to talk about challenges. So that's big. I'd also say take time to understand your avatar. Like, talk to people for a bit, like understand them, put content out there. Like, don't be afraid to fail early. Like, put yourself out there as much as possible. Your offer will most likely change. But if you put yourself out there and you start to interact with your audience, you'll start to get a really good feel of who is my avatar. And when I say avatar, I am not talking about target audience. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I want to help men from 20 to 40. It's like, dude, that's so fucking broad. To try to talk to all of those people at once, it's like being at a party and screaming to the whole party of like, hey, this is what I do. Like, no one's going to listen to you. But if you've ever been at a party, typically when you get high and you sit down with like one person at a table and you start having this intense conversation, you'll realize like people start to flock to you because they're like, what the hell are they talking about? And that one person is avatar. So I would try to get really clear on who's that one person you're trying to reach, speak to them, and you'll reach your target audience that way. You'll reach the other people that you need to reach naturally.
And specificity is key there, right? We're talking about so let's take an example. Our podcast, right? We are talking to the person that sold books, who left Southwestern, maybe not in amazing terms, but still recognizes that they love that experience and are looking for ways to connect and be heard and understood and feel relatable with other book people that have also probably experienced the exact same thing, whether that be over
Yeah,
a
man.
beer or through conversation. That's our person. Now, it's probably a man because most people that sold books before the 1990s were all men, and that out of the 100,000 that are living, right? But women too, right? That's where we don't really have specificity.
Exactly.
But
You reach the man, like if the man's your avatar, that doesn't mean you can't reach women. That doesn't mean, oh, if you're a woman, you can't hear this. But it's like you speak to that person, you're going to attract other people. It also sounds like you're speaking to people that sold books at least more than 3, for the most part, 3 or more summers, because they get the process. They get not only selling, but the recruiting, the training, potentially managing an org. Now, does that mean you can't reach
the culture?
Does that mean you can't reach a first year? No, but you have an avatar of who you're trying to talk to, and then people kind of assimilate to that.
That's incredible, dude. That's number 2. Wow, this is so fun. This is the kind of stuff we're gonna cut and send to you.
Oh, perfect. I can keep going if you want, man.
Yeah, dude, fucking. This is honestly the kind of content we love. We don't get it often enough, but when it comes around, it's like this is the perfect episode to just kind of give us a good roundabout of, we had some crazy shit happening in this season, but this is what makes episodes well-rounded, so go for it. Good.
No abortion. I can't do that, but
are you going to sue this state of higher up judicial and
dude,
Justice
I don't
Department
think
of
Oklahoma should be a state. Like, if you're listening to this and you're from Oklahoma, I am so sorry. That is one of the states I forget about.
God needs to grab that panhandle, turn it upside down, and dump all.
I always looked at it as a gun when I was growing up, with a really long, for some reason, all this back here is anyway.
I'm just kidding. We love Oklahoma. We're just joshing for
you. He loves. I'm just a guest. I don't really like.
If you're gonna sue somebody, it's this one over here with
Andres loves Oklahoma. This guy, big Oklahoma guy. No, man, I'd say the third one is and this is really cool for people that sold books. If you're trying to start a business, the first thing you have to learn is selling. Don't be afraid to sell. Go get your teeth knocked in early, because that also helps you find your avatar. That also helps you create your offer. What I'm teaching a lot of people, I'm like, dude, just get on the fucking calls and walk people through a process of helping them with their challenges. And when you're early in it, you might give some people oh, you need group coaching, or oh, you need one-on-one coaching, and you'll start to get this feel of, okay, who's my avatar, who's really liking this, and what is it that they really need. You don't know any of that until you get on the phones. But I think a lot of people have this fear of selling. I was one of the guys that I work with, he was one of my SDRs at self-publishing school, and then he went on to become a head of sales. He's crushing it in life right now. He helps high ticket. He was just doing an Instagram story yesterday that I was watching, and he was saying that he tries to when you're trying to build a business, you try to give as much content out on social media as possible and teach those valuable lessons. And that was his lesson. He said some guy was bagging his groceries and asking him what he does, and then he pitched his product and what he does. And this guy bagging his groceries was like, hey, I'd love to get into sales. I want to go to school and learn business. And he's like, yeah, my number one lesson to anyone watching this is, who cares about business school? Go and sell. And he's like, I've sold for 7 years and all this stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, you sold, but you didn't sell books door to door. You didn't you get thrown into the fire of sales when you sell books door to door, in my opinion. Any person that I've hired in a high ticket space coming from books just crushes the other reps. Of course, there's some outliers of people that didn't sell books that did well, but majority book people crush.
It's crazy. We're kind of aggrandizing here because we both did it, but honestly, if we have 180 episodes at this point of proof that they just are so cool.
It's wild, man.
It's so one of the guys that's developing our website, I was telling him about the episodes we just recorded, and he was like, dude, how many people did this shit? And I'm like, I supposedly 100,000 that are living anyway. But why? He goes, dude, it seems like every person that you've talked about on your episodes, they're all doing some cool shit. I'm like, yeah, that's why it was a good idea to start this podcast about it, because there are so many cool people out there.
I do think you take it for granted. It's one of the things I've been sitting on lately, because I'll give my little jabs at Southwestern, as I think people should, right? It's not the end all be all, but one of the things that I really wish I would have done better, now that I have hindsight, is recruit. Like I was afraid to recruit and talk to my friends about doing this thing, but everyone was like, "Hey, this is going to set you up for, the rest of your life and shit like that." And I was like, yeah, whatever. You clearly just want us to recruit more people. It's like, man, now that I'm 31, I like look back and I see what I'm doing, and my wife and I just moved back to Michigan. We just moved back to my hometown. We're living in Port
Yeah.
Huron.
Congratulations, by the way. That's a
Thank
sweet
you very
house.
much.
Yeah.
No, but it's like seeing what some people are doing now and like what I've had the privilege to do. It's like I wish I would have tried a little bit harder to recruit because what
Oh,
Southwestern gave me. I think it helped me tap into my charisma more. It helped me tap into my self confidence more. Helped me tap into how like I don't know, breaking belief barriers, and it set up to me working in I think over 12 countries worldwide, over 15 companies. Um, and being able to come
damn.
on fucking honeymoon to this incredible place. Like, I don't know. I wish I would have done a better job recruiting for that reason. But hindsight's always 2020.
Dude, I get it. I mentioned this person a couple of episodes ago. I have a buddy of mine named Kyle, and he is currently going through like a sales intensive course program he paid a ton of money for. And one of the things you have to do this week is go door to door. And like he starts calling me for advice, and I told him some stuff, and then he like texted me at the end of his first day, and he's like, "Bro, this is so hard." And I go, "Yeah, try it, 80 hours a week for 3 weeks or for 3 months, and then every summer." And he goes, how like the people that are crushing it, like how many of the people do it? I was like, the people who are crushing it probably are doing one sale every 4 people that they saw, honestly, like
Yep.
the top. He goes, impossible. There's no way. And I'm like, yeah, I know,
Yeah,
right? They're freaks. And to us, those are like, that's like, yeah, that guy's good at selling books. But to him, he
25% close
finally
rate.
understood. It's crazy. He finally understood after one day of just trying to go door to door, and he only did it for like 4 hours or whatever.
Nuts,
You know,
dude. I also think
it's
it's
crazy.
incredible that they're telling people now to go door to door when they're learning sales. Like a lot of people are going to like I have friends that are going to Stanford Business School and just learning the theory of business. And I'm like, man, you got to like go sell. Like, of course, you have to learn other parts of a business, right? Like, you want to make sure you know profit margins. You want to make sure you know like your ROAS, your return on ad spend. You want to make sure you know all
Legal.
this stuff. But it's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
you also like at the end of it, none of like leading sales teams. Like one of the hardest things about being a head of sales is like, hey, so goes the sales team. So goes the rest of this startup. Because if you're not
Yeah.
selling, it's very hard to do what you're fulfilling on.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So, that's our love letter to our, Southwestern daddy issue. But okay, so that was number 3. number
Oh
4, what you
shit,
got for
dude.
me?
Oh, I forgot I'm supposed to think of 5. Oh my
You don't have
god.
to. We can end it at 3. We can
No,
end it
man.
at 3.
I think 5. I can do 5. By the way, I don't want to lose you, so I gotta come over and charge my phone. I already have this set up. Hopefully this
All good.
works. Hold
All
on,
good.
plugging this back. Okay, hold on. Do you see me fine?
Yeah,
Oh,
you're good. It's a little
it's a,
darker, but it's okay. It's all right.
I can take this off. Man, I think the third one is like what you learn in
Fourth one.
Southwestern is like know what you can. Fourth, know what you can control. And I think the importance of awareness. Like I wish I would have learned this more in Southwestern. It was like they taught the importance of attitude, which is awesome. But I feel like it was like sometimes like false positivity. I think I talked about this on my last podcast with
Yeah.
you of like,
And we've
and a
had
bunch of
multiple
people,
conversations of this since. Yeah. But
and I'm sure
yes,
a
I know
bunch
what
of
you mean.
people talk about it, right? A bunch of people are like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's like this fake like sometimes self talk feels fake because I think it is. It's like you're just trying to tell your brain, hey, everything's okay. Just look at the bright side or something like that. When it's really like, hey, let me just have awareness of what I'm feeling right now and actually go through it. And I think a lot of people don't take time to do that, especially when they're starting a business. So the new framework that I teach, I learned RACE when I was with Whitman Roy Partnership. I tweaked a couple of things with it, and I changed it to RAISE, RAISE. Um, Still, R still stands for results, but the A stands for not just attitude but awareness. I think one thing it's one thing to be like, oh, I can control my attitude with self talk. I think it's another thing to be like, I have awareness, like actually practice present moment awareness, whether that's through
Mhm.
meditation, through prayer. Because when you do that, I think a lot of people are like, oh, I just thought the whole time like I don't really get this, or they're like, oh, I've done this. I had one colleague in WRP told me, he's like, yeah, man, I was meditating for like a month, and I'm pretty sure I got it down, so I haven't been doing it anymore. I'm like, I don't think you get meditation at all. Uh, but it's like meditation is like you're working out a muscle. You're working out this awareness muscle in your brain to like know, hey, when I'm tense, where am I actually feeling it in my body? Like, how do I know my attitude is dipping? Like a lot of people don't know that their attitude is dipped until way too late. So when you can practice like your own present moment awareness, and for me, I know down to a T the things that I do or the things that I don't do, the things that I say or the things that I don't say when my attitude starts to dip. And I like so for me, like I'll tense my legs, like I know I'll tense my hamstring and my quads.
Mm.
And as soon as I feel that now, that awareness is like, oh, my attitude's dipping. Let's catch it quicker. And I'm able to change it. It's one of the things I interview now for a high ticket company thought leader. And it's one of my interview questions. I say, hey, how do you break a slump? And then as they're answering the question, I'm like, oh, sorry for interrupting. How do you know you're in a slump? And they're like, well, my numbers show it. I'm like, how do you know personally you're in a slump? They're like, oh, my attitude typically will dip. And then I say, okay, how do you know your attitude is dipping? And if they don't know how to answer that, it's like, man, you haven't really practiced the awareness enough to be able to change this quick when I can't be over your shoulder all day. So I think that's big. That's a
Your
long
leg
one.
tenses up. No, it's good. For me, that's brilliant. By the way, there's so much I want to touch on there. One, for me, it's when my car's dirty.
Nice.
If my car's
So you know,
yeah,
out
yeah.
external.
If my car is messy, I literally told this to my wife and some of my close friends is if you ever get in the car with me and my car is messy, I need you to ask me if I'm okay. Because I probably don't notice. And then when I do, and I realize I don't realize I'm in a slump, I'm grumpy or whatever. And I'm driving somewhere. I'm like, wow, I'm like shit everywhere in my car. Oh. And then I clean up my car and it just resets me. I go to the gas station, I throw all the shit out. I do a clean. If I have the time, I go to the car wash, vacuum it out and clean it on the outside. And boy, when you have a clean car and you leave the car wash, you feel so awesome. And I then use that momentum to get me back on. Yeah, it's a
That's
true story.
fascinating. It's fascinating
Isn't that
because
weird?
it's not the same as me, right? Just like you're not the same as me, I'm
Yeah.
not the same as you. Yours is external, right? Like in your external world, you can kind of understand what's happening internally. For me, it's internal
Yeah.
world, like knowing exactly parts of my body. I like that. I really like
It's
that.
weird.
Next time
It's
I
really
come
weird.
out to Oregon, right? Oregon,
Yeah. I'm in Portland. That's right, baby. Come out.
Portland. When you pick
I
me
got
up,
good weed
I
here
was like,
too.
dude, really, dude.
Yeah.
So for the like, I stopped for the last couple of months. I haven't been doing really any psychedelics, any cannabis,
No.
as because
Interesting.
Morgan and I have been trying, right? So we're trying to make a little book
Oh.
baby.
Look at you go. Make a book, baby. Speaking of which, that is also a company that you can go get your book published, but don't go there. Go to SPS.
Book baby, yeah. So go self publishing school. Nice plug, self publishing school. If you could drop my affiliate link, like right here, just
Now.
drop Dillon's affiliate link.
Dude, I gotta show you something, and then we're gonna go on to number 5 if you want to.
Yeah, let me get my wheels turning.
Okay. While you doing that, I'm gonna show you this. This is the funniest. One of our merch items is actually, if you go to our store, theponytailspodcast.com, boom.
Oh, my money, dude. Shut up and take my money. That's incredible. Who thought of this, Heather?
I did.
Oh my gosh, that's
Because my nephew
awesome,
had been
dude.
born, and I was like, that's a book baby. My brother should get this for his kids.
Is that your nephew?
No, this is too dark to be my nephew. If this is my nephew, my sister-in-law would have some explaining to do.
I thought Danny was a little darker than you. No, I'm wrong.
I mean, we're dark, but we're not black. I mean, not from the waist up anyway.
Good
Okay,
for you.
so number 5.
Just so I don't keep everything on like selling, right? Because the last one was more attitude. I think if I were to look, I still look at E as execution. I think there's a difference between effort, which a lot of times was taught at self-publishing, or I'm sorry, at Southwestern. Like effort, go work. I mean, going to work could just be running around not doing shit. Could be running around a trailer park not making any sales, but being like, I'm doing something, or like an old,
Knocking
you
on
ever
doors.
You ever write up your maps, go to your area, you're like, oh, this is an old folks home. Like effort would be, I'm still going to knock on these doors to say that I did it, but you're not really executing properly. So I would say the importance of execution, like being really, really smart with your time. One of the things that I created when I started helping with high ticket sales was like an execution cycle. Learned part of it at Whitman Roy Partnership, changed a bit for like the high ticket space. So what I would say is like the first thing you want to do if you have a goal when you start this business is you want to aim, right? So the first part is aim. You want to aim for success. Where is it that I'm fucking going? And I think when you're aiming properly, you have to get really clear on what are your BHAGs? Like, what are your big, hairy, audacious goals? Like, what are the big goals that you want? Then you got to get
scaling
really,
up
really
people. Go read it.
Yes. Once you get big, like clear on like big picture, then I think it's you dive deep. So it's like, why is it that I want this? Why is it actually important to me to help this many people or reach this many old book people with my podcast? Like why? Like really, really dig deep. Get to that deep desire, because I think when you're being present and you're mixing that with your deep desires, where we can tap into our inner brilliance. Learned that from Roy Whitman, man. It's stuck with me ever since. And then once you get deep on your deep desire, you have these big, hairy, audacious goals. The third part of aiming is like, okay, what needs to happen next week? Because I think a lot of people want to start a business or do something, and it's like throwing spaghetti at a wall. It's like utter chaos, and they don't have this meticulous way of looking at growing it. So it's like, man, if I want to go over to that tree, I'm not going to get there next week because that's my BHAG. It's off in the distance. What do I have to do next week to get me a little bit closer to it? And just coming up with like 5 to 10 key objectives for a week. And if you said, hey, if I did this, I would be getting closer to my BHAGs. If I just did this and accomplished this next week. And then the last thing you need to do is have a next step for each of those. And hey, these are the 5 to 10 things. When am I doing this first one? Like literally what day and what time? When am I doing the second one? What day, what time? All the way through. So first thing you do is aim, then you act, like actually go fucking do it. And then as you do it, you assess what you're doing, right? It's why we track numbers at Southwestern. There's going to be obviously more numbers you want to track as you build the business, right? How much am I spending? How much am I bringing in? What am I putting on ads? What am I getting back? How many posts am I doing? What am I getting in return? When am I getting the best return in my posts? More morning, more afternoon. So you want to assess with numbers, aim, act on it, and then assess. And then you're able to adapt. Like when you're able to look at the numbers and say, okay, I set goals for this and I hit these, but I'm not getting closer. So I need to change something. I need to adapt. And then once you adapt, you reassess or you re-aim. You go back to aiming, and then you aim, and then you act, and then you assess numbers, and then you adapt what you need to adapt, and then you re-aim. So I think just getting a really good execution cycle going to be more meticulous with your growth.
God, that's so good, bro. That is so good. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I know I am. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the people that make this show possible, the people that bring this show to you. These are people who all sold books, and we're here to give a quick shout out to them in a spotlight about their company and what they're up to. So if you're interested, or if after listening to this, you're kind of wanting to know a little bit more, feel free to click on the links below to connect with these people. These are from an excerpt I have with them from a podcast that I do on the side. It's called Executive Exercises, where we take all our sponsors and they come into a think tank and share some awesome ideas about how to grow their business specifically on different topics. Go check that out. But I pulled some of the comments that they had explaining what they do and who they're looking for on their companies. And so if that sounds like you, like I said, click below. Hope you enjoy. So yeah. And so money wise, and it just seemed like it was going to be the leads, which I wanted to go back to that because you mentioned this, and that's another thing that maybe Southwestern people don't understand is leads. That's kind of like you're saying, basically, imagine you show up to a town to sell books, you send a postcard out to every single family that has kids in school or young children, asking them if they struggle with any of the following subjects, yes or no. Would you be interested in hearing about a product that might help you with all those subjects, yes or no, name and address, and then you just waited at your HQ for like a couple of weeks, and then you got in the mail like 700 people returning that postcard saying, come to my house, here's where I live. Hi, are you the mom of the house? Yes, and we've heard of you. Great.
Yeah. Is this your handwriting, Miss Betty? Yeah, that's my handwriting.
Yeah.
You got a few minutes? it's, again, you're not selling every single lead that you sit down with, but the leads is kind of what interested me, because that kind of anxiety feeling that I talked about at
Yeah.
Southwestern and the anxiety I had with Family Heritage, I honestly didn't think that was going to go away, but it has. It's gone away when I sold. I still had a little bit of anxiety, but after that first knock, it goes away. But much less anxiety every week, because I know I have fresh leads coming in. And so even if this day doesn't work out, I know I got, typically our agents will get anywhere from 25 to 50 leads a week of people that they can go and call on.
That'll do for now. Like I said, make sure you click below to get some more information. And now back to the show. Dillon Barr, stud, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, man. I'll see
Okay.
you later, dude. This is fucking
So
awesome.
yeah, hey, good episode. I'll talk to you next time. Okay, so talk to me briefly before, because we still got to get into Unfound Anamnesis, some Southwestern stuff. We're interweaving Southwestern in here, so this is great. And then
Bring it on.
of course the Brudders. But talk to me a little bit about Thought Leader and what your goals are. I guess, what does it look like for you in the next 2 to 5 years for you with this role that you have a Thought Leader, and kind of what are you moving towards with that?
Yeah, man. Thought Leader's incredible company. Also in the high ticket sales space. Their offer is they self-publishing school help people publish books. And Thought Leader's original or initial offer, I should say, is they would walk people through how to land a TEDx talk. Can you land a TEDx talk on your own? Can you write a book on your own? Yes, but the whole concept of the high ticket space is let's save you some time to help you get better results and actually show you how to do this efficiently and do what you need to do to get the results you want to get, like views. But shout out to Fido, by the way, Bookman.
Yeah.
So did a TEDx talk, and he's over like 35,000 views on his TEDx talk in like 3-4 months. And I think when he chatted with you, he was like in the hundreds.
Yeah, he was it was just about to launch, or getting ready to launch, or had just launched. It was really early on. Ah,
Yeah,
good for him.
picked up main.
That was
I think he's like 250 comments. Episode what?
episode 124 back in May. If you guys want to go check that out after this, if he's a stud. Great episode, by the way,
Right.
too. But
incredible call to action, by the way, to get people to watch other podcasts here. Very good. Also, go back and watch episode 23 with Dillon Barr. I'm turning into a regular now.
We also had you with Chad and Maurice. That was also fun.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. So this is my third.
This is your third appearance.
Being on here 3 times. Like, has anyone else done that?
I think you're tied. Somebody else. Amanda Q has been on here technically 3 times. But I think you're the first one to be on here and named 3 times, because she kind of half appeared on her husband's show, but her name was never on that one. So
yeah. If there was a pace setter for how many appearances, there's no way that counts for her as a full appearance. So
although Braxton Amundsen also has 3, but it's okay. We're gonna have to come back with you and somebody else.
I'll get on a 4th one because I'm doing a bunch. I'd love to talk.
You and Morgan can come on and talk about your love life and how you guys met. There you go.
There we go. And then I'll take pace setter.
Thought Leader.
Thought Leader.
He's not competitive at all, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't tell.
Everyone makes fun of me because I used to tell people, I'm like, I'm not that competitive. And anytime I brought it up, people would laugh. They're like, yeah, fucking right.
I'm laughing now. Fuck, I know you.
Yeah, I know. It used to be way worse, which is why I say I'm not competitive now. It used to be really bad.
Jeez,
bad. I played hockey growing up, and it was bad. Thought Leader. Let's get back to Thought Leader. Awesome company. Initial offer, help people land a TEDx talk. And how I'm doing everything now. So I came into that program similar, like, hey, let me step in as I came in. I did a discovery. Like, I came in and said, hey, let me interview your entire company, and I'll figure out what you're doing well, some challenges, some area of improvement. I actually came in on their fulfillment side first. I wanted to take a break from sales. Did well with fulfillment, did my discovery report, and they're like, holy shit, we want to change a bunch of our sales processes. Could you step in temporarily as our head of sales to put some systems in place for us? And I said, of course. This is what I like to be paid. I like to be compensated for it. And I stepped in as head of sales for the last 9 months and helped them scale their initial offer of their TEDx program, helping people land a TEDx talk. And we had our first $2 million months in company history in the last like 4 or 5 months, which is pretty cool.
That's wild.
I said $1 million months, right? Did I say that? You and I spoke before this.
Correct.
Okay, cool. It's kicking in. Am I allowed to say? I mean, I can say that. Fuck it. You're in
Yeah,
Portland.
we had someone take a bong rip on here before, like on
When I was
screen.
my mom was so nervous when I was coming here. She's like, "Don't take your pen. You know what happened to that Grimer lady? She's in jail." And I'm like, "I don't think it's the same in Africa." So she was wrong. I was right. But I helped them
Also,
scale that.
Kenya's not gonna nuke America because we want to go to war for this lady, like,
Not yet.
or
Not
for
yet.
you.
Not
Yes.
yet. But if it was me, man, I'd put me Grimer same. Like, if there was a pace setter, Grimer might be one,
You'd
but
be
I'm
on
I'm
there.
nipping at her heels, man. Um, Thought leaders scale their initial offer, $1 million months. Brought in some book people, which is awesome. Will Hemmert. Did I break up? Can you hear me still? Okay, cool.
No, I can hear you.
Will Hemmert, one of our top sales reps, started as a setter, SDR, worked his way up. Now he's one of the top sales reps. Christian DeBay, one of the top sales reps. They both came in, crushed it. They're loving life, scaled the business, and then the president was like, "Hey, I kind of want to step in to take the sales team to the next level." Taylor Conroy, he's a 40-year-old that's done 4 TEDx talks, understands our product really well. He wants to come in now. He's the president of Thought Leader to scale the sales team. And I currently have moved over to start a new program, which is Business Accelerator, like I mentioned earlier, to help them scale this offer. So it's like, hey, once you put your TEDx talk out there, you want to turn it, you want to market yourself. Most of our clients want to turn it into a back end business. So now what I do is people go through the course in which I teach them kind of what I'm teaching you, on how to start and scale their small business. So that's currently what I'm doing with Thought Leader. Was that the question? Sometimes
Yeah,
when
that's
people
great.
ask me questions on podcasts, I'll talk in this. I typically don't talk in these long diatribes. I talk in this long diatribe, and I'm like, I don't think I'm fucking. Am I answering the question? I did, right?
Yeah, you did great. Yeah, you did great. Yeah,
Good
just
for
kind of what
me.
you're up to now. What's kind of the future, and it looks like you're scaling it big. That's sweet. I love that, dude. Good for you. And I have no. First of all, I'm not surprised that the company grew like it did after your leadership on there, and I'm excited to see what it does moving forward and what that avenue looks like for you in the future. So that's exciting, brother. Cool
Yeah, man, I
shit.
appreciate it.
I want to get talking a little bit about Unfound Anamnesis because I think this is such a unique thing. I have never really heard of anybody doing this and doing it in the way that you and Matt are doing it, which, by the way, shout out Matt, did not sell books, but is a bookman that didn't never sold type of person.
Family
We love those.
heritage.
Yeah, he did family heritage and he gets the culture, but he just, one of those, like you said, one that got away, but would have been amazing at the career anyway. Um, and so I know what it is, but obviously you're going to be much better at explaining this. Maybe start at the roots of it. Tell us what it is, and then go back to the roots and what you guys are up to now, because this is such a cool thing that you're doing.
Yeah, man. It's my favorite thing that I'm doing right now for sure, and that includes Brudders, which I'm sure we'll talk about. I love
Yeah,
Brudders, but it's just I
so
love
do I.
the creativity, the authenticity, and the vulnerability that comes with Unfound Anamnesis. So high level, Unfound Anamnesis is going to be a series. If all goes well, it's going to be a series of comics that my partner and I, Matt Emery, are creating with our other partner, Evan Winston. Also didn't sell books, works for LinkedIn. He's our illustrator for our comics. I can't draw. So the three of us will create a series of comics throughout the next, hopefully, decade. We have enough content for the next decade to entertain our following. And then I'll be that's the high level. It's a series of comics.
So cool.
Its roots, man. I wish this was a joke. Its roots, not this exact spot that I'm sitting, but its roots literally originate on this farm that I'm on right now. So like 7, 8 years ago, when I was consulting for Whitman Roy Partnership, I mean, I grew up with my grandparents. I write about this in my nonfiction book, Happiness Gap: How to Achieve Success
Go
Without
check it out on
Focusing on Money,
Amazon.
Fame. Yeah, how to
Link below. Link below.
link in the
Click.
description. But in the book, I talk about the importance of like core values, like internal values, not external rewards. And my grandma growing up kind of instilled this creative mindset in me. She used to read to me like every day. I would pretend to be like a warrior outside, and she would always ask, like, "Hey, who is it that you're fighting? Who are you beating?" And I would just create these worlds in my head. And when I was in elementary school, I wrote a book. It was like an assignment. I wrote a book when I was in first or second grade, and I wrote a book when I was in fifth grade. They were like, I had to draw pictures and kind of write a story. I think it was 3rd and 5th grade. And in my the younger one, I like won the award of best nonfiction little book for a 3rd grade class of 20 something. And then I did it again when I was in 5th grade. My grandma would always tell me, she's like, you're going to be an author. You're going to be an author. And it kind of like that seed sparked in me that at a young age, I just didn't really think I would. But it started coming back to me, and I started seeing like the I love writing. And when I was on this farm working for Whitman Roy Partnership, I started thinking of this concept of a book, of a fiction book. And also while I was at Whitman Roy Partnership, it's like I traveled to a bunch of countries, like throughout East Africa, South Africa, West Africa, and a lot of Southeast Asia. And when I would travel to these countries, I love religion and mythologies. So I would get into the religions of the area. I grew up Catholic. And when my first assignment with Whitman Roy Partnership was in Indonesia. And I did not know this when I went there, but Indonesia is the most, percentage-wise, the most densely populated Islamic country in the world. Like you would think Middle East, but it's like 95% Muslim in Indonesia.
Damn.
So I went there and I kind of like, I wanted to learn more about Islam. They gave me a Quran that I started to read, but it was very dense. But I tried to like, I went to mosque with them as they prayed. I asked them like why they prayed, how they prayed, what the importance was. Very peaceful. I know we've been kind of told a different narrative because we get a lot of the Middle East Sharia. Right. I think it's Sharia Muslims, but it's like Sunni Muslims, or I could be misconstruing those. Sunni Muslims in Indonesia. Just learned, it was so peaceful. Learned a bunch there. A lot of time in India, learning about like Hinduism, Buddhism. I read the Bhagavad Gita. All this to say, like I learned a bunch of religions, and I see religions as allegories of like, hey, an allegory meaning like a hidden meaning in a word, story, or song. So to be able to read these stories, whether it's in the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching, the Quran, to read these stories and to find that deeper spiritual meaning, that like lights me up. I don't look at it as fact. I look at it as allegory. Shame on me. A lot of Southwestern people might not like that, but no, man. I'm like, man, it'd be so cool to do something similar. And I think fiction gives you that opportunity.
Yeah.
So all of that to say, it kind of mixed when I was living here of like, man, I kind of have this structure of a story. I want it to be fiction. I want it to be fantasy, and I want to be able to teach my own lessons for the next generation. And if they can learn something from me through a book, all the better. So make a long story longer. I started thinking of the book over here. I worked on it a little bit, but it was really one of the big reasons I wanted to work at self-publishing schools. I wanted to learn more about self-publishing, and they had a fiction department. So when I started working at self-publishing school, I met their head of fiction, Rami Vance, R.E. Vance. He's done a lot of really good fiction books.
Beast. Like one of those
incredible
people where you don't know him because he's not popular from the standpoint of like, your Stephen Kings and like big like names like that, but as talented as they come as well.
Yeah, man.
When it comes to fiction, like writing about fiction, he's a beast.
He's authored or co-authored, I think, over 60 books. He started off as a published author, and he's like, I can make more money doing this myself. I know how to market now. So he did that, and then he teaches people at self-publishing school how to write, publish, and market fiction. He makes so like cool. 8 to 15K a month doing what he does, and I'm like, man, if I can make money and create, I want to learn. So I learned from him. I used to like write things up, kind of take it to him and have conversations, say, hey, here are my thoughts. And he would just tear it down. And I'd be like, okay, it has to change a little bit. And I need to talk to more people about this. So I met other people at self-publishing school. One of them being Matt Emery, my partner now, and really, really good friend. I love the kid, the guy, the man. He's older than me. I met him because he wanted to write fiction, and we used to get together every week. We called it the Fundamental Bros of Fiction. For some reason, we just wanted to name it. And we'd talk about our books. He would tell me about his book. I'd tell him about mine. We go back and forth. He was also writing nonfictions. He's got 3 incredible nonfiction books you should check out. The most recent one being The Detourist. He's an incredible writer.
Keep talking. I'll go grit it. Yeah. And I have yours somewhere. Just one sec. but keep talking.
No worries. Get his, dude, because he deserves it. He is an incredible writer. We'd get together. We kind of bounce ideas off of each other once a week, and it just slowly turned into me looking at my book and saying, "Hey, I need to do some changes." And really, this isn't a book. That's a great book, Detourist. For me, I was like, yeah, it's not a book, it's a comic. And I think it'd be really, really cool to do a comic. I also grew up loving comics. I love Marvel, the cinematic universe. I think it's awesome, the actual universe and the cinematic universe. So him and I decided to partner, and we said, hey, let's just create a world together. I needed some help, and he helped me create the world of Bastunia in the cosmos of the Unfound Anamnesis. He helped me create the initial characters. We've been world building in this for the last 3 years, and we got to the point this year where like, hey man, we've outlined and we fully plotted enough books. Let's find an illustrator. So we found an illustrator, and we're like, hey, now it's time to market it. So we've started to market it. It's been, yeah, man, we started to market and put ourselves out there, and we're launching the first comic in the beginning of the year. Long answer.
First
Holy
of all,
fuck.
no, this is great. No, this is the point of podcast. You can get to some of the weeds. A couple of things on that. First of all, unfound anamnesis. Of course, the word unfound anamnesis is relating to like a previous memory of living, right? Is something like this.
So
It's my second
anamnesis
language.
is anamnesis is a Platonic philosophy, a philosophy from Plato. It means a vague remembering of a past life is what anamnesis means.
Okay.
And then we added unfound. Unfound has always been how I use it, what I use to describe this world. It's not lost, it's not found, it's kind of right in the middle. So we put them both together to create the Unfound Anamnesis.
Super cool. First, so it's sweet meaning on that already. And I wanted to touch on this because I'm a part of this community that you're building. So, and this is kind of a really cool thing that you're doing, and the way you're doing it is super special. I think that is going to really help other people be inspired, wanted to contribute. I knew I wanted to contribute immediately because the creative in me didn't have the time to write a fictional book, but what you guys did, and I'll let you expand on why and how you guys did this, but basically you have like a Facebook community right now that you're doing, and maybe elsewhere, but you guys ask people to join and essentially kind of provide ideas that they might have that you guys are openly and willing to take. In fact, I have something that I've contributed that we can get to in a little bit, but
yeah, and I want to hear from you.
I just thought that was such a cool thing. And so can you talk about why you decided to do that and how, and then we can get into like the actual story of Bastunia and your character. I'll let you explain it all, but I've been watching all your videos and we can talk about that later. But first, like, why did you decide to do it that way? What inspired that, and how is it going? Or like what return are you seeing on that?
Yeah, man. Unfound Anamnesis on YouTube for anyone that wants to follow it.
And again, the link of that is also going to be, our producer will put all this on the show notes. But if you guys want to check out all of these things, the Detourist, the links to all of Dillon's books, Unfound Anamnesis YouTube channel, we'll put that on the show notes, and you guys can have at it and go through that stuff. It's really, really cool.
Shameless plugs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what.
One of the things I learned from Taylor Conroy working at Thought Leader is the difference between a feminine goal and a masculine goal. And when I say that, I'm talking about energies. I'm not talking about female, male. Typically, like these feminine energy goals is more of like what you want to give. What is it that you want to feel? It's more of like that nurturing, like that and that's typically how I set goals. I start with feminine energies. Like I want to step into my authentic self. I want to feel more confident. I want to feel. And the masculine goals are more of like the direct. Hey, I want to make this much. I want to have this many following. I want to do this. I want to get here. Boom. Like very specific. I typically start with feminine. I've though tried to balance the two because I'm a big believer of balance. So the feminine energy reason for me, for us, Matt and I starting Unfound Anamnesis the way that we're starting is we believe in like a community and a culture building something. Personally, I don't want to speak for Matt. My deep desire is this concept of boundlessness, which is I talked about in a recent video. But at the simplest terms, boundlessness, like having no bounds, not knowing where I stop and where somebody else begins. And the way that I view that, the way that I view it is by reading a book from this yogi who talked about it like physically. He's like, he meditated so much, he didn't know where his body stopped and the rock underneath him began. And I read that. I'm like, that's beautiful. I don't think I'm ever going to experience it physically. I don't meditate that much, but it'd be really cool to experience it mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Right. Like, so how I view it now is like, dude, like what I've learned from you and putting yourself out there doing this podcast is like, go and do it. That's a small piece of Andres that I carry in my life to do what I'm doing, right? To build what I'm building. That's a piece of you with me. And I'd love to do the same thing. Thanks, where it's dude. Like maybe someone takes one of those 5 lessons I talked about earlier and they're like, I've never thought of it that way. And they take that into their life. Well, that's a piece of them, a piece of me that's with them that I've learned from other people. And it's like that concept I think is incredible. So we want to do the same thing with Unfound Anamnesis. And the reason Matt and I took 3 years to build this world is we wanted to build a world and a universe so large that we weren't going to touch it all with our main characters and the main story. And we want our audience to be able to fill in the space and to be like, ooh, what if we played over here a little bit? You guys aren't talking about this part of the world. What if there was a character here or a lesson you could teach here? We want to say, instead of us saying, no, that's not how we do it. I think right now we live in this culture of it's yes or no. Like you see it in politics, you see it in business, you see it in religion. It's like, that's not the way, it's this way. It's not this, it's this. And I think that's rigid. I think that's kind of scary. So we want to create an area where if someone gives an idea, instead of us saying yes or no, we could say, maybe, or let's see how that could work. That's
with genuine curiosity, with actual
yes. That's my that would be like my desire of doing this. Now, like the specifics of how it happens, like very direct, is Matt and I want to sell comics. Matt will also, for each of our comics, Matt is going to write out the prose. So he's basically going to take these 25 pages of pictures and write it out as a chapter. So people can read that chapter if they want to read it. And then what we'd like to do is create a Patreon. Right now, it's a Facebook group. We'd eventually like to create a Patreon for people to follow and to be along with us and say, and to give feedback. Say, hey, I really like Joan, our main character. I really like this. What about this? What if she was wearing this? So we can add that to our story so they feel like they're a part of it. Just small things. And eventually, we'd love to get to a point where, like you're doing right now with Matt, where someone like actually says, hey, I really like this story. I have a character, or I have a potential book or a series we could do to teach these lessons, but I don't know how to do it. Well, those people eventually, if we turning it into a business, those people would kind of pay us a consulting fee to work with Matt and I and tell us what it is they want to teach, tell us the characters they want to create, and we will take them through our frameworks and write that character, write that lesson, write that story into the Unfound Anamnesis and put it out to the world. So then it's like Andres has a character. So then you want to tell more people about it. So then we reach more people that then come into the Patreon that then want to join. So it's like, it helps us create a business that can grow. And I think it helps our audience create a story that they wouldn't have initially put out there because they didn't have the world, or they didn't have the right foundations, or they have a big mental block, which is what I eventually want to do with TEDx talk about. Is I think a lot of fiction authors have this mental block that we want to help alleviate.
Yeah, dude, that's so smart. That's like revolutionized fan fiction is what it is.
That's what I mean. That's how I think it would be. Yeah. I haven't heard anything.
Nothing. I mean, just fan fiction comes out, but it's never canon. And so what you're doing is you're allowing people to, it's like if someone was like, all right, we have Lord of the Rings, but if you want to create like a whole secondary story or Game of Thrones or something, if you want to create a whole second set of story, you can pay us and you will work J.R.R. Martin to essentially create these characters and really give them a life in a time period that is built on this universe that he created. And people would pay a lot of money for that. That's genius.
Yeah, very cool. I think it should be very collaborative. It's why we're doing the videos now, so people kind of know the lore. It's also like Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's like D&D, which I love D&D. It's like there's this world that's created, and then you create a character within it. And I do a bunch of research on the Dungeons and Dragons world and the lore and all that, so my character can really pop, and then bring it into what to the D&D world. It's the same thing we want to do with Unfound.
Genius. So cool. So let's talk about the story that you have so far. If you want to give us like the concept of the world itself, maybe, if you will, maybe not necessarily Jones' story yet, but like the idea of the callings and all that stuff that you're talking about. And then let's discuss. I haven't got a chance to discuss my characters with you, so let's just do it on this.
Yeah, man.
Let's do it.
Can we take time with it? We're only an hour in, and I think you gave
I don't
me
care.
an hour and a half or 2.5 hours, right? Okay, so
It's our show. It's our show. Look, this podcast can go as long or short as you want. It's your call. It is whatever. Some people will stick around to it. Some people won't. I don't care. It's about us.
If you're not sticking
we're
around,
talking
fuck
people.
You. Exactly.
You're my avatar, and everyone's just listening. Okay, we're at the party having a cool conversation.
Nice callback. No, man, let's make it interactive because I've been wanting to work on this. I'm chatting with a buddy later today. I'm going to ask him the same questions. It's the questions that kind of sparked this world. You know the answers a little bit, so it's somewhat cheating, but I think it'd be fun for the listeners that have got this far to think for themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline 3 different paths for you, right? 3 different types of paths, and then I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Cool? I know you know the fucking answers, but okay.
I'm buckling in, baby.
I'm going to use the word man for you because you're a man, and are you cool if I use the word God, or does that trigger at all?
Absolutely. God's good. Awesome. No, you know what? And I appreciate the thoughtfulness of it.
Not a problem. So first path is, I want you to imagine this, right? So just sit into presence, close your eyes. No, I'm kidding. First path is a guy wakes up in the morning, right? And he takes a step outside, and he looks and takes in all of the creation around him, everything God has given him. And he's fascinated. He looks at all of the resources of this land, right? He takes in the mountains, he takes in the oceans, the rivers, the trees, the wind. He realizes that throughout time there have been societies that have been erected and destroyed and erected. Like he's able to take it all in, everything that's led to where he's at right now. He takes in his community, right? His network, his family, his friends, his own body, everything God's given him. And he thanks God, and he's filled with a general curiosity. And he says, wow, what can I make of this? Like, God has given me so much. How can I use what he's given to me to pass on the torch to people that come after me? How can I create something so great and stamp my legacy on the annals of history? Stamp my name so people can remember and pass lessons on for future generations. That's the first path. That's how that guy thinks. Got it?
Love it.
Second path. Guy wakes up. Beginnings are very similar. Guy wakes up, steps outside, takes in everything God has given him, right? He just lets it sit in. He takes in all the resources, the mountains, the breeze, the trees, the oceans, the rivers, lakes, all of that. He's able to just conceptualize that there are societies and countries and religions all throughout the world, that it was all it's all this gift that's given from this higher power, right? He takes in his own community, his own network, his friends, his family, his human body, his human mind, his human soul in particularly. And he's fascinated. He's filled with gratefulness. He says, thank you to God. And this time he's filled with nothing but wonder. And he says, man, thank you so much. How can I understand this more? How can I understand you more? How can I constantly push myself outside my comfort zone? Because the further I get outside my comfort zone, I get further away from self, and I get closer to source. I get closer to God, right? How can I understand you and what you've given us and learn as much as possible, right? Because
yes, sir.
The more I do that, the more I understand me. That's the second path. Third path, same thing. Guy steps outside, takes in all of life, takes in all of creation, the mountains, the trees, the breeze, the oceans, everything God has given him, societies, all that around. Really, though, he takes in his own network, his friends, his family, what God has given them and himself, his own body. And he's very grateful. He says, wow, thank you so much. But really focusing on the last ones, his community, his network, like the routines, the daily routines that they share together, this community that they share. He's grateful, but he says, wow, thank you so much. And he's filled with nothing but love. And he says, how can I preserve this? How can I protect everything that you've given me for myself and the people in my life? If I can
This
do
is
that,
so good, dude.
I'm saying thank you for your gift, right? That's the third path. So just a quick recap. First path, same preface. We get the fucking preface, right? Filled with curiosity and says, what can I make of this? Second path, guy is filled with wonder and says, how can I understand this? Third path, filled with love and how can I preserve this? Right? You ready?
Yes, sir.
Because here are the questions.
I'm with you. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I know I am. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the people that make this show possible, the people that bring this show to you. These are people who all sold books, and we're here to give a quick shout out to them in a spotlight about their company and what they're up to. So if you're interested, or if after listening to this, you're kind of wanting to know a little bit more, feel free to click on the links below to connect with these people. These are from an excerpt I have with them from a podcast that I do on the side. It's called Executive Exercises, where we take all our sponsors and they come into a think tank and share some awesome ideas about how to grow their business specifically on different topics. Go check that out. But I pulled some of the comments that they had explaining what they do and who they're looking for on their companies. And so if that sounds like you, like I said, click below. Hope you enjoy. That's okay. And actually, and this is good to, I had Nick kind of explain this a little bit too, but it's because I've been in the insurance industry before. For people who are listening, like, how do you make 115% commission?
The way I explain it to people is the insurance companies we represent. So we're a broker. All these companies we work with, they know they're not really going to be making any money off the sales that I make for the first several years, but they don't care about that. They know these clients are going to be on the books for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So they know they're going to make money over the long haul. And so part of the reason agents are able to make so much is there's all these companies out here and they're all competing for the broker's business, because these companies don't actually have their own in-house sales force. They have independent contractors. And so if their compensation or their commission levels that they offer aren't competitive, I'm not going to place any business with them.
Hello. Off schedule moment. Wanted to tell you about Southwestern Real Estate. They're 99% drama free. Only 99, not 99.9. So it's a bit spicy. Kind of like this episode. Anyway, they will learn you to kick ass at real estate. So make sure you guys click the link below. Get in touch with them. Okay, back to work. Bye. That'll do for now. Like I said, make sure you click below to get some more information. And now back to the show.
Okay, here are the three questions. Question number one, what path, you can only pick one, what path do you feel like you're walking right now in your life?
Number one.
Okay, why do you say that?
That's just the nature of.
Why do you say that?
I know the answer. I don't think I've ever talked to you about this specifically, but for me personally, it's because of what I'm doing now. You know, the thing, what we're building right now, we're creating. The first person has to do with what can I create to leave behind legacy, and how can I be remembered from the standpoint, not for self-righteousness, or maybe I suppose, but more from the standpoint of how can I leave something better than I found it. You know, how can I make it and change what I have here, transform it into something different. The way you look at it, the ingredients in a recipe, and go, how can I turn what I have into a delicious meal, right? And leave it so that people enjoy it. So that's how I feel that we're doing here at the show. I think we're building something that hasn't been built, that needs to be. I feel like it's doing a lot of people a lot of good. I think that giving people a voice is a good thing, and it's a powerful thing to do. And I also think that what we did is really great. And I think that connecting those people with the idea that we all did something really hard and we should be in it for it together to build something and leave that behind as a network. That's how I feel. So I identify with number one.
And this is why I look up to you and what you're doing, man, is like the way that you view the first path is something that I've learned only recently, is like, you want to make it your own, right? I've viewed that first path actually in the lens of Southwestern often, of like, how do I build and leave my stamp? How do I have the best organization? But it's like, I'm doing something for really somebody else. Like, I didn't think of Southwestern, but I want to be a DSM and build and stamp my legacy. And it always just left a weird taste in my mouth. I think that's why I didn't stick around in Southwestern. I think for a lot of people, it's their passion, and that's
That's yeah.
awesome. And I want to understand it more. But I'm also in that same path, right? Where I want to create something creative, and I really appreciate everything because it's like you see these ingredients, you're like, how can I make this my own? How can I make this my Andres Gamboa signature recipe? I just think that's cool, man. Okay, second question. Ready for your second question?
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, sure.
No problem, man. What path do you feel you were born into? Because when we're born in,
Oh,
like we can't really control things, right? It's like you're born from your parents in a specific area, like you have very little control over that. And I think there's a specific type of like value sets that get passed down to you. What do you feel like you were born into out of those three
I
paths?
think the same way. My parents are the same way as me from that standpoint of like leaving about legacy and family, especially culturally in Colombia, that was that way. So I feel like I still was born into this. I think even if I was in Colombia, never moved here, never learned about entrepreneurialism, I think I would have still ended up doing something where I would be creating and
Yeah.
affecting, trying to make change through creation, through
What
creativity.
do you feel? What do you feel it was given to? Because that's not me. I think I was born into path three. That love. How can I
I
preserve
see
this?
that. I see that.
Yeah, like small town America, just like, hey, man,
Yeah.
this is us. Like, it's awesome. But why do you feel you were given that at a young age, not having this like selling books or shit like that as a background?
Yeah, I was born aggressively extroverted, right? So a lot of it, you could argue that it's for number three, where like creating connection. But I don't think that what I thrive in is control. Like in the Enneagram, I'm an 8, and I was close to being.
The
I thought about
boss.
being, yeah, like but it came because, and if you're not familiar with the Enneagram, go check that out. It's really cool. But a lot of people, and even myself for a while, thought I was number 7, the entertainer, because of, I mean, here I am, and I do stand up and all that jazz, right? But then I looked at the basic fears of the two, and the entertainer is terrified of not having attention or not having recognition. And honestly, I'm okay with, like, in fact, I've talked about, we just hired we just added Avery to our team, and I don't like being the face of the podcast. I prefer it to
Hmm.
be other people. Like I was like, I'm good at being the host, and I think I'm doing okay here. So I'll just I enjoy this. But if you want to be the person that's outward facing in our Instagram and on our social, like, please do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want my name on it. That's why it's called the Andres Gamboa experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
it. I like this role. I
Shot
love
at
getting
Joe
to know.
Rogan. Nice shot at Joe Rogan there.
Take it, Joe.
Thank
Um,
you, Joe.
but anyway, this is a super long answer. So number 7, that fear, I didn't ever connect with that fear. But number 8, the basic fear for the number 8 is not having control of your life, or even worse, having other people control it for you. And that shit was scary. That's part of me since I was a child. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
because of that, the idea of creating something means like I'm in control of my destiny. Like I get to
Mm.
choose what my path in front of me goes forwards. The road that I'm building, the road in front of me hasn't been set for me, and that excites me. And that gives me a lot of inspiration. I really draw from that.
Dude, what an introspective answer. That's amazing. All right.
I'm
Okay.
trying to
Okay.
answer for it. I'm gonna just we're having this conversation. I'm
Yeah,
your
man. Because
avatar, baby.
I think knowing where people you're my avatar. I'm just speaking to you. Everyone else is leaning in. Okay. Third question. Um. So play with me here, right?
Yeah.
I want you
Do
to
it.
kind of imagine yourself as a soul or an angel, however you like to look at it, kind of sitting up with God before you come down to earth. And let's say you're sitting in a rocking chair, just chatting with God. Now, real quick, what are your parents' names?
Sandra and Rodrigo. But you can call him Hot
Sandra,
Rod.
and I'll go
Hot Rod.
Rodrigo. I'm not going to use the rolling R. I'll go Hot Rod because I can't
He's Coach
go
Hot
hard.
Rod to me. Yeah, yeah,
Hot Rod, and
yeah,
Sandra.
yeah.
So let's say you're sitting up, you're on a rocking chair, you're chatting with God before you come down here, and God's telling you about these three paths, and you're like, "Wow, that's incredible, God. I'm getting ready to go down to earth." Sandra, and I'm looking down there right now. Sandra and Hot Rod, they're scrumping, and apparently I'm about to be conceived tonight, and they're going to name me Andreas Gamboa.
It was a good Christmas from what I hear.
Feliz Navidad. Um, I'm getting ready to go down there, man, and I want to walk one of these paths. I just want to walk one of them, and I want to experience it, and I want to have the full joy of one of these paths my entire life. And from what I'm hearing of these souls coming back up here, it's going to be easy to forget. I go down there, there's things down there called politics and business and the economy and religion and whatever. It's going to draw me off my path. I don't want that to happen. I want to stay true to one of these paths. I want to constantly remind myself why I'm here and what path I need to walk down. I need you to give me something. And whether it's like something on my body, like a tattoo, whether it's something I can hold physically, but give me something that anytime I touch it or look at it, it's got the power to bring me back to this one path. It's like God fashions this little rock or something. He's like, all right, Andres, or she's like, all right, Andres, gives it to you. And he or she says, anytime you touch this, you'll be reminded, you can hold it with you at all times. You'll be reminded of the path that you're supposed to walk in life so you can experience it fully. Go down. What path would you choose?
I don't know. I have the personality already at this point.
Right.
I still like this. I still like number one.
Yeah, I figured that would be your answer. Why?
It just knowing that this is who I am. And actually, this is something you talked about earlier, awareness. But on this show, we've talked about this a lot, and a lot of successful people have this, which is know yourself. And so ever since we've done this podcast, and I've learned from the people that come on, I've learned to like really know myself, and I really, really enjoy. Oh, my screen's gonna get blurry here for a little bit. That's okay. But I really, really enjoy the idea of leading from the front.
Yeah.
I feel called to just, I don't care if people follow me. That's
Mhm.
that's up to them to decide. But from the idea that I want to set some example where, like I said, I'm laying this trail, and that can mean that other people can walk it.
Yeah.
That's not why I'm laying it right away. It's just more that I'm laying it just to have like a control, like I said. But the idea of others following in those footsteps, that sounds really cool too. And I
Yeah,
think
and I
I
like
would
how you
need
said
that.
earlier, it's like you don't need people like looking at you. You don't need the spotlight on it, but you're like, hey, I'll lead from the front. I'll show you how to do this, and we'll create something that exists way past our time. I think that's beautiful,
Yeah.
man.
And I also don't think that my path is perfect. So I believe in the idea that someone else can walk it and then turn it from a 2-lane highway to an interstate
Right.
or a rail system. You know what I'm saying? I just blaze this trail, but who says it can't be an interstate, right? And if someone wants to come and do that, great. But it's
Yeah.
cool to know that the original like Lewis and Clark trail was me. I was the Lewis and Clark.
Yeah.
In a way,
And,
that's more
and
of an
people remember
explorer.
that.
But the idea of I don't care where I'm headed necessarily, but creating.
We don't want to get into explorer words yet.
Yeah.
No, it's really fascinating, man. Because I when I started creating this, it was me kind of doing my market research and finding my avatar, asking people these questions. You'd be shocked how many people's last answer is different than their first.
I
So
believe that.
anytime I hear someone whose first answer, like what you're doing right now, is exactly what they'd want to do, it's like, dude, like kudos to you for that's incredible. Good for you. Um, so with that said, to tell you about the book, the premise of the book lies in the last question, which is if you were to, be born onto this earth, uh, and you wanted a way to remember your calling in life, your dharma, your life's path, what would it be? So we created the world of Bastunia. It's in the Unfound Anamnesis. It's the first world we're going to look at. We created the world of Bastunia, and in this world, people are born, and they're gifted at birth a spiritual beast from God, and this spiritual beast symbolizes their life's calling. And there's 3 paths. So it's kind of like his Dark Materials, but obviously we want to put our own twist on it. It's got that trope of animal
A demon.
companion, but this is,
They have
yeah.
it. They call it demon in that book. Great book, also great.
I thought
Very, very
they
serious.
also say daemon. It's when you watch his Dark Materials, they might
Yeah.
call it a daemon, but daemon, demon, really good mythology. We don't have to get into. But yeah, so in this, it's like you get a spiritual beast, and the spiritual beast in this world is actually called a calling. So it's literally like, hey, what's your calling? And there's 3 different types, and there are those 3 paths, right? The first path, and the first type of beast is the path of the builder, which you chose, right? And these beasts, they have the power to create matter from matter, right? So they're in charge of creating the societies. They create the buildings. They take from the earth and create these crazy big structures. When you think of like starting a society, you need to create some type of cities and things to live in.
Right.
So these builder beasts take that up.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure of it all, society infrastructure. And so these beasts are kind of, you imagine a builder, right? They're very like intricate, technical. The second path and the second type of beast is the path of the explorer, which is the path that I feel I have walked for the most part. I'm currently on the builder path because I want to create this for Unfound, but the path of the explorer is the people that want, the philosophers, the people that want to go out and experience everything that this new world has to offer. Their beasts are the winged beasts, or the beasts that can swim great depths. But their job, that's your calling. Your job is to go understand this world, go out and map it. Lewis and Clark expedition, go out and map what we're doing here. Come back with philosophies and what you've learned, so we can grow through that understanding. And then the third path is the path of the defender, right? So it's these are obviously like the knight beasts, the beasts that are kind of like knight-esque, and their job is to protect, right? Like you have hostile creatures coming in, and in Bastunia we have these extraterrestrial, shadowy like creatures that are coming in to rip people apart. The defender beasts are the beasts that are like, hey, let me protect my brothers and sisters. Let me protect this family here on Bastunia. So in this world, people are gifted these at birth, and throughout history, they were actually able to be gifted multiple beasts. So someone could be born with an explorer beast, and then they get a builder beast later. They're just going down different paths, which I think is a lot of us would like to do in our own life.
Sense.
Hopefully, we do. But after a while, the god took his eye off the ball. He kind of got a little tricky, and he's like, "Hey, what if people were born with no beasts? Like, what if people didn't know their calling, and people started to be born without beasts, without callings?" And although he thought it would be helpful, like utter chaos ensued, and people are like, "I don't have a calling. What the hell?" And people that are beast born start taking advantage of no beast. Be like, "Hey, if you don't have a calling, help me with mine." And then a while later, the god took his eye off the ball, and people started to be born with only one beast. So people are only a defender, or only an explorer, or only a builder, and it created a type of separation. Everyone was kind of in one area, and they start like builders went to live with builders, explorers kind of explored everywhere, but really came back to explore world, explore area, and then defenders live with defenders, and it started to create this separation. And then one day, the god just up and left. Like there was no god, and no one was born with a beast. So people for the last 15 years have not had a calling, and obviously there's chaos. So there was one hero in this time that everyone looked to. He's one of the few people that had 3 beasts, and his defender beast is 2. So he actually has 4 beasts. He's the only person in the world that has 4 beasts. And he was a modern day superhero. Anytime something went on, they're like, "Hey, James," that's his name. "What do we do? What do we do? You're our Superman." And he carried that weight on his shoulders. And he said, "Hey, the god didn't leave us. He's just missing. And I'm going to go find him, and I'm going to bring him back." And James was an explorer by birth. And he's like, "I know where the god is. He's at the top of the great mountain that no one's been able to get to. I'm going to go there. I'm going to get a team together, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to bring the god back." And he goes off. He goes off to bring the god back for the people. And he leaves his home to do this. It takes him 7 years. And as he leaves his home, he leaves his wife and daughter home so he can go save the day. It takes him a long time to get to the top, and as when he's gone, the wife starts to go manic. Like she wants to be this hero, and her husband's the hero, and he's leaving her to be just a housewife. Not to say that's bad, but not what she wants in life. And she starts to go a little zany, a little crazy, and she ends up leaving. She gets like kidnapped by this other tribe in front of her daughter. So her daughter, whose dad has left her, mom is stolen from her, now needs to grow up with the neighbor. Hates beastborns because her dad is the biggest beastborn, as they call him, and he left.
He abandoned
She's
her,
now he abandoned her. She's by herself, right? And it's all because of him. Not only that, is James gets to the top of the mountain. He's the only person. He reaches the summit. He's elated. He's like, "I'm going to find this god," only to find there's nothing there. So he looks around. He's like, "There's nothing here." He failed. There's nothing at the top of the mountain other than this small seed that he just like picks up. He's like just holding on to any hope. He's like, maybe, puts it in his pocket, and he comes back to the main city, which is literally just called Main City, comes back a failure. And the people that put him on this pedestal have now tore him down. They're like, we put our trust in you. How dare you? So the people hate him. And he comes back to a home where his wife has left him and his daughter hates him. She also has one leg, but we can get into that at a different time. She hates him. So he's a broken man. And he gives this seed to his daughter and he puts it on a necklace. And he's like, as like this gift. He's like, hey, I tried. And his daughter wears it every day. Not as a reminder of her father's great feat, but as a reminder of like, hey, my dad's a failure. So the story begins right now. And the main character is the daughter. Her name's Joan, hates her dad. And she's kind of going throughout her day-to-day life. We're understanding the world. And she doesn't have a beast. She wants to be the best in the world. She doesn't know what she wants to be the best at. She doesn't know why. She doesn't really know who she is. But she goes throughout her day-to-day life and goes to school. She's kind of like the class know-it-all. No one really likes her. She gets picked on because she doesn't have a beast. She has one kid that is her friend, but she wouldn't look him as a friend. He's just like this annoying sidekick that's always following her around. He's a little bit younger. And she ignores him. And on her walk home one day, she hears him being beat up by these older beast-born kids in this alley. And she goes to stick up for him. She gets in this fight and gets picked on for not having a calling. And she's like, I do have a calling. And the seed on her necklace begins to glow. And it kind of freaks everyone out. And she runs home, and her little sidekick, Artie is his name, comes with him. So Joan and Artie run home, and they see James, and they're like, hey, we don't know what's going on. This seed is glowing, and the seed erupts and explodes. And out of it comes not only the first beast that's been gifted in the last 15 years, but the beast, so James thinks, is the missing god himself. Is this monkey god named Buntu. And it's Joan's job to get the monkey back to the top of the mountain. And she's going to have to go throughout Bastunia and interact and learn from these different tribes to build her own team to take her to the top of the mountain. Long.
Yeah. That's great, dude. That's so cool. That is so cool.
I'm going to move now.
Dude, hell yeah. Let's I'm excited. So first issue comes out January 1st?
Yep. So our illustrator, we actually just got some of the first like 12 pages back from our illustrator, who did an incredible job. And we're editing them right now, and hopefully it'll be done by end of year. And then we're going to add some dialogue, and then Matt's going to write the prose, and we'd like to launch it hopefully when this is coming out. So if you're seeing it, go pick it up. Middle of January to end of January.
Hell yeah. That's so cool. I'm gonna purchase and read, my friend. It's so cool.
Thanks, man. I am very curious how many people tuned out or like, hey, I don't want to watch the podcast. As I was saying that long story.
Honestly, who gives a shit? We're doing this for you. So that's what matters. And listen, and for the ones that stick around, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. That's so cool that you're here.
We love you guys.
Like the video.
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe, do all those things, whatever. Check out our website, yada. Buy the book, baby, onesie. Dude, so cool. So how much have you heard? Can I tell you about my characters? Like, because this is so exciting.
And before you tell me about my characters, kind of like what we're doing, just to, I think I'll kind of tee you up, is Matt and I have created this huge world, right? But there's a main story of Joan, Artie, and James traveling throughout some of these societies briefly to learn from people that we haven't created yet, to get them to the top of the mountain. So it's like, we know where we're going. We're going to the top of the mountain, but we don't know exactly how we're getting there yet. So we want to create this an interactive experience. So we've been chatting with our following that are like, hey, I got a really cool idea for an explorer. I got a really cool idea for a defender. Or Andres is like, hey, you've been working with Matt. You're like, I have an idea for a builder. And we're like, tell us about them.
Yeah.
And then we're creating this. So yeah, man, like to you, tell me about this, because I don't know much about it's twins.
Yeah. So this also this kind of feels a little bit like I love how there's themes that are from other really awesome, incredible stories that you guys have turned original in your own. It's so cool. It feels like a mixture of a variety of things, which I think is what gets the creative juices flowing, because you're interacting with things that are so unique, but at the same time, it's like such a cool story about I'm excited to see where Joan goes. You know what I'm saying? It's such a it's the way I felt at the beginning of Avatar when you find out he has to go meet all the different tribes in that same vibe, but in a different way, because obviously it's like, wow, like her dad is this guy. Like it's fucking sweet, dude.
And this is the thing I think that gets in a lot of fiction authors' way is someone will be like, "Ooh, it kind of sounds like this," and they instantly get upset. They're like, "Well, no, it's my own thing." It's like, no, these are actually in fiction. They're called tropes. So
Yeah,
understand
it's
the
okay.
tribes to understand yourself would be the trope of Avatar. Like a hero who is destined for greatness but afraid to step into it. That's the trope of like Frodo.
Everybody.
That's the trope
Aragorn,
of Aragorn. That's the trope of Harry Potter. Like, so your
Jon
job is to
Snow.
take trope. It's the same thing with philosophies. Is that everyone's like, no, this is mine. It's like everything probably whittles down to like Aristotle, Plato, like
And
the
Plato.
original
Yeah,
philosophers.
they do. Or like, and really in any fiction, people say that you can trace back to pretty much any Shakespearean thing. Like he wrote, like he basically created the basic tropes. There's that you can't really like, you can always boil down pretty much any story that's ever been written to like one of Shakespeare's like works, which is why it
A lot of
makes
people,
him Shakespeare. Like,
a lot of
it's
people
so
think the
crazy.
same way about Homer's Odyssey because he created the hero's journey.
Yeah.
It's like the hero's journey is everyone uses it. So, dude,
Yeah.
now that I hear like that's boundlessness to me, it's like you're like, hey, this reminds me of Avatar. I'm like, cool. I learned
Yeah, that's
something
great.
from Avatar
Oh,
that was able to build this.
yeah, and by the way, like just people who get offended by that, that's kind of dumb too, because it's like that's a
Weird.
compliment because
Yeah.
you are unique. So like your story's still unique enough that nobody could ever say it's like the way that people could describe it's like imagine Avatar meets his Dark Materials meets, and it's like if they're saying that, it means that you created a brand new baby, like a new thing, kind of like Harry Potter. You can say it's kind of like Lord of the Rings meets Sabrina the Teenage Witch. You know, and it's like, but it's still its own thing. Sure, there's similarities, but it's still its own standalone. You got Family Guy and The Simpsons, baby, and then Rick and Morty. Anyway, so my idea, so where this came up with is I thought this would be cool. And I know you're hearing some of this details for the first time, but I've gone through some details with Matt now. But I thought it'd be cool to see what happens. First of all, to explore what happens when twins are born. Because if everybody's born with a calling, right? What happens when twins are born? Do they each get one? And then I was like, wait a minute, what if they shared one? Like, what if they had to share the calling and somehow, I don't know if there's a proximity thing, kind of like in his Dark Materials, but like, what if like they had to find a way to share it? But these twins are kind of like the twins from Pony's story, where they're the exact opposite, not from optimism and pessimism, but my thought, and I was like pretty high when I thought about this, but
as people should be.
Sorry, Mom. And my thought about this was like, we look at like building, right? I'm a builder in this universe, and we look at, and they're builders. Their calling has to do with building in that path. And it's like you look at the Eiffel Tower and you look at the Great Pyramids, and these are some of the most amazing constructions of all time. But at the same time, part of what you said is civilizations come and go and rise and fall. And so part of what makes something great and gives it like its end is destruction, is the end of it, right? We all die. That's part of the beauty of life, is that we die, actually. And so the idea is that both of these guys are quote unquote builders. I think, and it doesn't have to be guys either, by the way. I think one of them was a woman. I don't know if we determined that or not, but the point is that one of them is the world's best builder and the other one is the world's best destroyer. And it's the first time, because they have to share this calling, what happens is the calling takes both sides of what is to build something, which you have to destroy in order to build, right? And so I thought that was a really cool way to explore the beauty in darkness and the beauty in the lack of something, right? When you a scarcity, people, and again, this goes so against Southwestern stuff because everything has to be positive. But you mentioned earlier, it's about balance, and you need negative emotions to appreciate the good, but also to understand that there's troughs and there's peaks. And so where Matt and I got is that the guy that's the destroyer, he's actually the best builder. He's better than his brother.
But he's
he
like a
just never
perfectionist,
builds.
right? And he's like because he's so specific and he wants something so original.
Yeah, so he just doesn't try anymore. So by default, since he doesn't build, he hasn't built in years, but his brother is almost just as good. He's like the Ronaldo to the brothers Messi, and he's like pretty much, for all intents and purposes, that from an execution standpoint builds just this beautiful stuff, and they have to find a way to coexist because they are the antagonists to the other, right? So it's this exploration of your arch nemesis and everything you can learn from, but not arch nemesis from the standpoint of evil, but just like
Right.
the antithesis of who you are, right? And
Yeah.
you need that in the world, right? You need for every Alex Jones, you need a Bernie Sanders, right? Or
Yep.
whatever. You know what I mean? So
And the way Matt's described it to me is like they're actually very close, right? They're very one of the
yeah,
brothers
they're
puts
tight.
himself out there to build. And one of the things that you bring up, and this is the fun creative process, like when we work with people, like we want to go back and forth, and I want to hear from people like, oh, that's not what I'm thinking, or, ooh, I didn't look at it that way. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
one of the things that when you're writing fiction characters is you want what we call conflicting characteristics, which is like, it's almost like the paradox of the character of,
Yeah.
are they going to act this way or are they going to act a completely different way? Like Jack, I always provide Jack Sparrow as an example. He is this mastermind pirate, right? Like he's just like this. Everyone wants his brain. He's also an utter drunk. So this conflicting characteristic. It's like you put him in a situation where there's like a treasure and a bottle of gin on his way to get to the treasure. It's like you're almost like, are you gonna be smart or are you gonna be a fucking idiot? Are you gonna be a fucking idiot? It's like, and he's got this conflicting characteristic. The beautiful thing with the twins that you're talking about is there's this conflicting characteristic of like whose voice is gonna win. Are they gonna create this potential masterpiece? Right? The one
Yeah.
character that puts himself out there. I think the tags, like the people we want to compare him to that Matt has told me about is like the Elon Musks of the world, like actually put them to build something great. Or are we going to get the other brother who's this perfectionist destructor, like the destroyer, that's going to use his beast to say, no, this isn't right. We need to topple it. So in the
Yeah.
builder world, there's this, we call it the all build. It's like this yearly tradition that builders use where they try to create this incredible sculpture, and whoever can create the highest, most beautiful sculpture wins. And Matt and I were chatting after you brought this up to him. Is like, we can see, because they do have to be close to each other with their beast. We can see the one amazing builder building this incredible structure, right? But then we can also see the brother on the ground just like yelling up at him, be like, "This is derivative. This has been done before." You know what I mean? Like seeing the perfection.
Key
Like,
original, asshole.
yeah, we need to topple this. Whose voice is going to win, man? I love this character of what Matt's told me. If I've done it any injustice in what I've said, please correct me. But dude, it's been a very fun character to play with.
That's exactly right. It's kind of like the similarities, because there's always these pairings in literature and in story, again, with tropes, right? There's the if you've watched Dragon Ball Z, it's like Goku and Vegeta, where one of them, like they're for all intents and purposes about the same, but one of them's a little bit more powerful, and at the end, like the other one has like but they need each other. They need each other, otherwise it wouldn't be as strong as they are, right? You got your like Magneto and Charles Xavier in X-Men, where it's like Magneto's not really a bad guy, right? But he's not a good guy, right? And so that's kind of like the destroyer, but you need him to win what you for the greater good, right? But Charles can't do it alone either. You know, Charles is probably more powerful overall, but you need Magneto, right? So that kind of idea. We talked about if you've ever watched like Sherlock Holmes. I don't know if you read any Conan Doyle. I've read so much Conan Doyle.
I didn't read it, but I've watched.
Yeah.
Some.
So Sherlock Holmes, right? You would think it's like him and Watson, but no, it's him and like his brother Mycroft. If you've ever like are really a big Sherlock fan, so Mycroft is actually Sherlock's older brother, and he's smarter. Like in the family, Sherlock actually has multiple siblings, but in the family, Sherlock's the dumb one.
Oh wow, man! I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah, so Mycroft is more like that. This is beneath, like it's so fun that you go and like it's so cute that you go and solve mysteries. Like, but he's not like arrogant about it. It's just to him, it's like wasting my time trying to solve murders. But my brother is good at it, so he goes and does that. But I'm actually I'm a little smarter. I'm
Tap
a little
on the
bit,
head.
Yeah, it's like, peanut.
Good for you,
you can't believe you were so slow to figure that out. Like I knew it was the butler, from and in the show Sherlock, his brother Mycroft works in government, and he's like he's like an MI6 kind of like Secret Service, kind of like intelligence agency kind of character, and so that's why he doesn't mess with like stupid cases that Sherlock's building. And so it's kind of more that relationship, because they're not villains. Sherlock isn't a hero, right, from the standpoint of traditional, like he's good and everything. No, he's kind of selfish, but at the same time, it's like you need him. But Mycroft is also there, and he's also important. So it's kind of like that balance. And I've loved exploring it with Matt, and it was such a cool. We've had some conversations. We obviously need to keep talking about it, but it all stems from this idea that the calling is what brings them together, but also what sets them apart. When the calling is closer to one, he's beautifully a destroyer, and when the other one's on, and he's a beautiful builder. And it just, the contrast that they can provide to a story like this, I was super excited to talk to Matt and to you about it. So cool.
I'm so excited, dude. I'm so excited to bring it to life. And again, this is like, and I'm going to go back to that shameless plug of what we're doing. Like being, and we do want it. Like, so what we're doing, like, is you're a perfect avatar for anyone that's like, hey, if you think this would be cool and you're watching this, please reach out. And we want to be more collaborative, right? So we got like a baseline. We're early in the process, so it's not going to be as like rigid and like this is the routine. But we started talking to you. We have like an overall synopsis of who these twins are. We want to continue to chat with you and make this collaborative as we bring this person to life. Now, this person is going to come to life in like the third series for what we currently have set up, because that's when they get to the builder world. We want to continue to work with you and continue to be like, what are they like? How would they act here? And then when we start to create these books, we want to take you behind the scenes and say, okay, this is how we would have them fit in. This is what we want them to do. We want to hear back from you, because then you are a part of this, right? So that's what we're doing. And also, to answer your question, we want to continue to keep this collaborative. And actually, I can give people what we've started to put in is your twins partake in the all build. And there's really three favorites to win the all build. One has been this family that's continued to win year after year after year, the Scotch family. One is these twins. And then another is a new character that another contributor has thought of. She's an older lady, the character, and she's part builder, part explorer. So she was born with an explorer beast, and she used her young life to go explore all these crazy like sites. She was almost like this archaeologist, or like what's the other word I'm thinking of? Anthropologist, and understand like these different ways of life. Then she was gifted a builder beast, and she uses that to bring into her everything that she's learned to bring into her creation. So when the all build happens in the series, it's going to be one of those three families that take the title. I'm not going to tell you who, and I'm not going to tell you why. But we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for our contributors. And like, just talking about it lights me up. That's what we want to build here, right?
That's super cool, man. And I have referred a couple book guys to you, and there's even a couple other people that I'm thinking of like that should join that Facebook group. So again, if you guys want to join, check out the link below, and make sure you guys follow Unfound Anamnesis on YouTube if you guys want to catch up to what they're doing. I'm sure Dillon and Matt are going to talk to me about helping them produce a podcast at some point, because it'd be stupid if they didn't. That's a whole different story.
Very dumb.
But yeah, that's that. Any closing thoughts on Unfound Anamnesis before we move into the Brudders stuff?
Yeah,
I definitely want to talk to you about this.
And I'm realizing where we're at with time. The last thing I would say, I think a lot of times what gets in people's way is they get a bit in their heads and they're like, I'm afraid to put myself out there. And that's what I'd eventually like to do talks about. It's like what I think gets in writers' way. But if that's you, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Email us at unfoundanamnesis@gmail.com. And just be like, hey, I'm thinking of this. Like, we're totally fine to talk off platform, off social media or anything like that, to be able to help. But if you don't mind, man, I don't know when this is going to come out, but is it okay if I give you a preview of the first couple of pages?
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
That we got from our illustrator. Am I allowed to share screen?
No, but you can email it to me, and then I can post it on, or text it to me. Since you got my number, it'll come to my computer.
Yeah. I'm moving a little bit because I just got rain. Bless the rains down in Africa.
Bless the rains down in Africa. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I know I am. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the people that make this show possible, the people that bring this show to you. These are people who all sold books, and we're here to give a quick shout out to them in a spotlight about their company and what they're up to. So if you're interested, or if after listening to this, you're kind of wanting to know a little bit more, feel free to click on the links below to connect with these people. These are from an excerpt I have with them from a podcast that I do on the side. It's called Executive Exercises, where we take all our sponsors and they come into a think tank and share some awesome ideas about how to grow their business specifically on different topics. Go check that out. But I pulled some of the comments that they had explaining what they do and who they're looking for on their companies. And so if that sounds like you, like I said, click below. Hope you enjoy. That's okay. And actually, and this is good to, I had Nick kind of explain this a little bit too, but it's because I've been in the insurance industry before. For people who are listening, like, how do you make 115% commission?
The way I explain it to people is the insurance companies we represent. So we're a broker. All these companies we work with, they know they're not really going to be making any money off the sales that I make for the first several years. But they don't care about that. They know these clients are going to be on the books for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So they know they're going to make money over the long haul. And so part of the reason agents are able to make so much is there's all these companies out here and they're all competing for the broker's business, because these companies don't actually have their own in-house sales force. They have independent contractors. And so if their compensation or their commission levels that they offer aren't competitive, I'm not going to place any business with them.
Hello, off schedule moment. Wanted to tell you about Southwestern Real Estate. They're 99% drama free, only 99, not 99.9. So it's a bit spicy, kind of like this episode. Anyway, they will learn you to kick ass at real estate. So make sure you guys click the link below, get in touch with them. Okay, back to work. Bye. That'll do for now. Like I said, make sure you click below to get some more information. And now back to the show. Gonna take some time to do the things we never had. This is airing. If you guys are listening to this aired on the 22nd of December. So that's when that will be. And that's perfect.
Oh, really? 22nd of December? Happy solstice.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Happy winter solstice to anybody that celebrates that, like my wife and I do.
Did you send that to me on?
Oh, not okay. Oh, you could share it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I have not. 1 second. Let me take the pictures of it. My apologies.
No, you're good. While you're doing that, I'm going to talk to people really quick about our newsletter. Guys, go sign up for the Colt. That's our newsletter. COLT. Nice. The Colt. But you know, the Colt. We think we're funny here on the air. This is our newsletter. You can go to the ponytailspodcast.com, subscribe. You guys can go check out more information about upcoming guests, people that we've had on the show, highlights of other things that people are doing in the community that are really cool. And we are getting really close to launching. I'm not going to announce it yet because we don't have it set up. But by the time this airs, we should be just about ready to have a really good reason to join the Colt and join our newsletter. Some really cool stuff happening here on the show. I am so fucking pumped about it. So on that note, ponytailspodcast.com, check out the Colt. And if you guys have questions or if you guys want to be on the show, make sure you guys go on our website as well to sign up to be on the show. There's a link that you can follow, be a guest. And if you sold books, please reach out to us for that purpose. Cool beans.
Oh, nice, dude. This is almost perfect timing, then. Keep going.
Oh, you want me to keep going? Ad lib on stuff? Oh, also,
if you want to ad lib, you can. Yeah.
No, this is I can go on, but this is important to share with some folks, because by the time this airs, we're going to be taking a break here after season 7 ends tomorrow. Actually, the next episode is actually launching tomorrow, and we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with our first season, our season 8, episode 1. Dave Rosen is going to be back in the house visiting for a second time. And here we are. You did it. You messaged me. Look at you go.
First, it's going to go in reverse order. So you're going to want to open the second one first.
Oh, okay.
And you're going to want to open the first one second. Yeah, man. Our illustrator, I found him on a Facebook group. He does a bunch of illustrations for Dungeons and Dragons creators, like people that are trying to create 5e compatible books. He does a lot of their illustrations. And the thing I really liked about him is we started this wanting to create it like a manga. Like, I'm a huge fan of Japanese comics. I brought them on my trip. Right now I'm reading Demon Slayer, Hunter x Hunter, and My Hero Academia. But we also wanted to make it our own. And this guy doesn't have like the manga style. He actually has an American animation style. So when we think Treasure Planet, when we think Lost City of Atlantis, when we think Tarzan, that brief glimpse of history we had of like really good American animation, that's Evan's forte.
Oh dang, it's kind of blurry. It's too small.
Oh no. Well, go to the next one first, actually, if you don't mind.
I did it backwards.
Yeah, you do. I sent it to you backwards though, so it's on me.
Well, I thought I downloaded it backwards and then it didn't happen. Okay. Hang on.
Oh, hold on, you're gonna lose me for a second.
All good. This one right here.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you're back. I got you.
Cool.
Boom. Oh, it's still kind of.
So it's like it's still blurry, but I mean, this gives people a better reason to join our launch team, because it's actually, if this is coming out in December 22nd, it'll still be a couple of weeks, and we will currently be looking for people to help us with some of the dialogue. So we'll want to have what we call a launch team and beta readers that can read through this to give potential edits. So if that would be interesting to anyone watching this, reach out to us. But this is like an end early in the book. This is almost a finished product by Evan. We still have to do some shading, but we see the style of like Joan, top left, walking downstairs, starting to create breakfast. You can kind of see that there's no electricity in this world, so she has a hearth. And then her dad, who's chatting with her, doing his morning like Tai Chi and reading the newspaper. You can see on the sofa is one of his spirit beasts, one of his callings. That's his defender beast. And then Joan kind of frustratingly, like showing her frustration towards her dad, just getting ready to like, hey, how can I eat my food and get the fuck out of here? And then if that's the first page, and then if you go to, that's kind of more of the end of it. And then currently, I actually just got these pictures today from Evan. It's more of like the rough sketch of where we're at, because he might need to make some edits.
Okay.
So today I'm going to spend time today I'm going to spend time going through this, giving him my thoughts, some potential edits, things that we want to shift. Oh,
I got the wrong one. Okay, here we go. And boom. Damn.
Also,
if you're listening to this, you can go to our YouTube. We're about a minute or an hour and 48 minutes in. So if you want to see what we're talking about, or on Spotify, you can also see it.
Yeah, man.
But anyway,
this is a rough sketch of later in the day. Like Joan goes off to school. She's like I said, she's kind of like that class know-it-all. She's getting picked on. And right now we see her kind of out at recess. She climbs this great tree. She gets to the top. She starts drawing in her notebook. She's kind of telling everyone, I believe. Oh no, she hears from someone who's trying to get up there. Like, hey, you can see this guy's like, I'm trying to get up. She's like, do you want help? And he's like, if a lousy no beast can get up there, then that's what they call people with no calling. If a lousy no beast can get up there, then I can. And then you kind of see her saying, well, good luck. Like her frustration coming out with these beastborns. And then we clip to school's out. She's walking home and she decides not to get on the bus. And the bus is that big beast that you see with kind of the platform on its back. Yeah. Those are the kids going home from school. That's an explorer beast, because it explores and takes people home. You can see Joan actually walks past it because she's got this frustration of like, beastborns think they're better than us. So we're going to play with it a bit. I'm going to do some edits today, man, but that's the illustrations. Evan's an incredible illustrator, man.
Dude, that looks beautiful. Holy shit.
Thank you.
That is amazing. This is like coming along, dude. Good for you. Man. So cool. Oh, man. Thanks. I'm proud of you. Good for you.
Thanks, dude. Well, you did say closing things before we switch to Brudders. Like, I think the big thing that I've learned through this is because Brudders, what we're going to talk about in a second, it's like the fun, sarcastic, masculine kind of like asshole marketing, which is easy for a guy like me to fall into. I played hockey growing up. I love being sarcastic. There's more of like that masculine, here's what you get. And Unfound, man, has been it's such a harder journey to walk for me, because it's been this a step into creativity and expressing myself, and with that comes vulnerability, because I think through creativity and vulnerability we reach authenticity. But it's like, I'm putting myself out there, and here's my creative desire. Hopefully you have something similar, and if you do, reach out. But it's been very interesting, and I guess the biggest thing that I've learned is, as scary as it is, and even when you don't get the results that you want, like creativity, like when you're being creative, your job is not to impress others. your job is to express yourself. And it's just, I've enjoyed every step of the way of creating Unfound so far.
Dude, I love that. It's a way of
Thanks,
expressing
brother.
yourself. That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Oh, so badass, dude. Okay. I saw it. This is a sweet episode. I love this episode. Okay, so let's get into Brudders Beards. If for those of you who are listening and who did not tune in, and if you have not seen if you have not seen Dillon's face, homie's got a beard and a half. And it's, how long is your beard now? It's got to be, I mean, I've seen it longer.
Dude, it's been longer. I've trimmed it up. I actually feel like an idiot because I'm talking about my products here and I did not bring any. So you can see it's a little mangy right now. But man, it used to be kind of down to like chest area, and then I trimmed it up a little. But yeah, I'd say decently big. I'd say like, what is it? 4 inches? 6.
It's out there. It's out there, bro. And here is the balm. I have some. I am a customer and am going to be a loyal customer. So talk to me about, this is a company that you started with your brother.
My brother.
And you called it Brudders Beards, Brudders. Why this? Why? I mean, I can see because you have a beard, but like, how did you guys get started? And this is where people who tuned off and put down their pencils from taking notes about how to build an online business. This is how you build a product-based business. So this is a whole different way that you're being an entrepreneur. So that's right. So let's talk about this business and how this came along. What are you doing?
So you said you're holding up the balm. Currently, what it is it's a beard balm and beard, what we call butter, which is like a beard conditioner that you're supposed to use once you get out of the shower. You use balms and conditioners or butters or oils, not for your beard. It's actually for your skin, under your beard.
Skin,
so it's like
good skin promotes and itchy.
Exactly. Yeah. Good skin promotes good growth. Why we chose this, I mean, we just kind of did. I think our big thing was, I always thought it'd be cool to grow something with someone that I like, a family member. And I know a lot of people say don't do it, but it's just like, I want to help anybody around me, like family members, get their products out there. And I have the gift of gab, the gift of charisma. I want to use it in a good way. Yeah. And I've always wanted to help. I've always wanted to work with my brother because he's so much better in certain areas of a business than me. It honestly started with the name. Like for the longest time, he would call me brother. Like he just called me. He's like, "Hey, brother." And I'd start saying it back, and I just like, I fucking love the name, and I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny, and I started using it everywhere because I'm a big community guy. I want to create cultures. I want to create community. So I mean, I just started calling everybody my brother. So I would, like, when I was at self-publishing school and someone would talk to me, I'm like, "Hey, brother," and it started to just stick. If you know Matt Mead, listen to Matt Mead's music. But if you know Matt Mead,
also,
he's on self-publishing.
You need to get Matt Mead on this show to perform some music.
I know.
My God.
Just so you know, I did last time, and he just gets busy, man. He's trying to put out like a lot of music. He's incredibly talented. He played at our wedding. He's our first dance.
He's incredible. Go check him out. Go check him out on Spotify, and then you'll see what we're talking about.
He's also just like a cool dude. Like, you want to be friends with the guy.
He's a cool cat for sure.
He loved the name Brudder, right? He's like, so he started using it, and I'm like, I think we're onto something. We were in a hot tub, and he's like, man, you got to start something. He's like, Brudder Butter, just because he thought it would cool. That's cool that it rhymed. And I'm like, that's interesting. I'm like, my brother and I both have beards. Brudder Butter beard balm. Why not? Like, the whole thing is really to create a community or some type of culture, but that just makes sense. And I reached out to my brother, my actual brother, and he works with his hands, man. So he makes his own cutting boards and woodwork. He does a lot of woodwork. He's created his own hash oil in the past. And he's like, man, I could easily create balm. And he's like, the cool thing is that everything could be organic and it's, made right here in the States, other than the scents. So we just figured we were onto something, and it's like, yeah, let's just give it a try. And started the LLC earlier this year. And we're like, hey, let's do Brudder Butter, let's do Brudders Beards, and I was like, okay, now it's my turn to get our names out there. So I decided to sponsor a local men's league hockey team in Port Huron, and market our team's called the Brudders. So I've just marketed us on Instagram as like, follow the team's story, and then I also will do like small plugs for beard products. So we did our first launch of the Brudders Beards products like 3 weeks ago, and it took off. Like, we didn't think we would sell out as quickly as we sold out. So we just did our second batch, and we're already working on our third batch because we started to get barbershops and like hairstylists that we know reaching out to us and say, hey, can we sell your product? So
I got a connection for you too.
Please.
I got a connection for you in Lincoln, Nebraska. We have one of the best barbers I've ever met in my life. The dude's a DJ for the national figure skating competition. Like, he like will travel for that. It's
would love that connection.
Yeah, he's great. Homie is awesome. DJ Romeo, shout out to you, brother. I call him Rome if you're tight. He cut my hair for 10 years, then I moved. That was one of the hardest things to leave Lincoln. Was like, you think my family and my nephew? No, fuck that. I mean, yes, good job, love you guys, but man, a good beard trim person, like a good barber.
Very hard to find.
A lot of people can cut hair well, and honestly, he's in the top. Like, we're talking about the UNL Husker players get their hair cut, like, right. Walk in, it's a black barber shop's badass, but nobody can do beards as good as he can. I mean, he's a beast.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, I got to connect you with him. But okay, so what have you learned from this process of creating a product? So, because this is like kind of the thing that you would ideal for like Shark Tank, right? This is the kind of thing where like you can't really go to Shark Tank with like a podcast. I mean, I guess you could podcast company or something like that with what I'm doing. But like this is kind of like the ideal. Like, you go talk to the Mark, you're in there. Mark Cuban says, I'll give you, $1 million for 30% of your company. And you say, yes, hug him. And like, this is that kind of thing. So what have you learned? What have you learned about this process that's different than high ticket sales and door sales?
Yeah, dude, a really good question that I hadn't thought of, honestly, until you just asked it. And I'm like trying to rack my brain. So I wasn't being fully present. I apologize.
Very good. I mean, you're in Africa in the jungle with like animals.
I was going to say also,
you.
I don't know if you can see. Zebras just walked up as you were talking. They're like right here under the two pillars. Can you see them?
So badass. Yeah, I see them. It's fucking They were like, I mean,
they were right
fair
here
enough.
yesterday. No. But it's coming from it, like really getting like technical on the front end. So making sure we had our LLC, making sure we did all like the logistics lawyer wise, like with our ingredients and stuff like that. Like that, I forget what it's called. Liability, some type of liability thing. I needed help, and I did it a couple of months ago. But getting that in order like early was big. Really figuring out like the expenses that go into it. Like for me, it's like advertising is buying these hockey jerseys, creating our website, which is getting ready to launch. It's almost complete. That's a investment early on. But I think the big thing is like really a lot of organization of inventory, which is something that I learned at Southwestern. But it just feels a little bit more intricate when it's like, holy shit, we're creating these. Like how much inventory we have, how much we're selling, if we have capacity to continue to sell, and most importantly, which we've made sure we've been on top of, is like profit lines. Like how much does it actually take to make this, and how much can we sell it for? So we have that profit, so we can cut from it if we're going to work with any affiliates. Like, you don't want to have these razor thin margins because it gives you no room to play. It gives you no room to grow the business. So you want to have higher profit margins, especially early, to give you that cushion.
We need to do an affiliation. What the hell am I doing?
Brudders Beards. Yeah,
what
man. Get you a rep code.
What? Yeah, we'll go Pony. Brudders.com.
Yeah, Pony.
Bruddersbeards.com/pony for 10% discount, whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, dude, why not? Let's do it. But exactly what you're talking about. Shake on it. The first thing that like they ask on Shark Tank is like how much you make for like landed, and then what does it take? What do you sell it for? That's like the first thing. You don't have to tell us that on the air here, but I know so I bought 2 of these. So let's walk through. Are these the 2 main products that you sell besides merch right now?
Besides merch, which is t-shirts and now crew necks. The main products that we sell is beard balm and beard butter. We want to get into like organic soaps, because you want to use an organic soap on your beard. You don't want to use like shampoo or conditioner. Please, if you're doing that, stop. And then we want to obviously get into organic shampoos and things like that. We've got requests for lip balm as well, so we'll see. But right now, just the balm and just the butter, to answer your question.
May I make an unsolicited suggestion? which I love giving you unsolicited. I don't even know if you ever take these. Took one, the twins. You should find a way to make, as a fucking ginger, you should find a way to make sunscreen, better sunscreen,
Oh,
because that would be
nice.
hilarious to market.
Brudder Block instead of sunscreen.
Brudder Block. Yeah.
Brudder Block. Yeah. Definitely, man. And we're also, since we've been here, it's something that I've been talking with my wife about, of creating. I'd love to have like some type of wing of our business that gives back. Specifically, like I know people in Kenya that are working really hard, and if we could donate 10% of our sales, and we'd love, because brother in Swahili is Ndugu, and sister is Dada. So we'd love to have a subsection of the business called Ndugu and Dada, with an N, like Ndugu and Dada, and sell like merch that we purchase while we're here. But that's down the line.
That's a sick, like, charity-driven products do super fucking well. And you guys, this is kind of set up in the way your marketing is. I've been watching on Instagram. It's kind of similar to like the Dollar Shave Club or the Squatty Potty, or that, where it's just like more you're funny selling it, like where it's just, you know, a unicorn shitting rainbows is why you.
That's not us, but we could potentially use it. No, we have Brudder the Brudder.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny, dude.
Yeah, but it's funny you bring that up. The Dollar Shave Club is the inspiration that my brother was like, hey, we should do something like this. We'd like to get to a point where this is also a membership, where every 1 to 3 months, people can change their scents. People can get a new butter and a new balm. This leads back to the question that you asked of, like, currently it's beard butter, conditioner, and then balm. Like, so a butter is what you would use when you get out of the shower. Your hair's still kind of wet, getting it in there. Yeah, that's what you're showing. It's the bigger. It comes in 1 ounce containers, $12. Typically lasts a couple of months. You use a little bit and you kind of rub that into the beard, and then all natural ingredients. And then once your hair dries, you use the balm, which you need a little less of. So the balm comes in, it's smaller, comes in 1/2 ounce containers, also for $12. You don't need a lot. It's a little bit thicker, and you rub that into your hands and then kind of massage the beard. And it's really good, mostly for smell, a little bit for hold, but it's also $12, but it's because we put a higher priced product in it called argan oil, which stimulates hair growth, because it's really good for skin health. And I also use it for styling gel.
Yeah, great. And I should put it on top of my head. Maybe my hair grows back. But no, Clint, that we do that. Brother's Balm does not credit that. Before I get freaking some disclaimer, my hair back. That was a disclaimer as a joke. To be honest with you, I've used both. Love the product. This is not because you're my friend. I'm not talking. I honestly, I texted you this unsolicitedly earlier, but I had to say it on here. As a person with a beard, love the thing. I'm the kind of person that doesn't grow. It's thick, but it's not like curly. So my beard grows like out. And so when I let my beard grow out, it looks like my face is rounder and I've gained 30 pounds because it just goes out first. But when I can mat it down with the balm, it's great. It's great for that. Second, the scent is amazing. My wife loved it. My dogs loved it. I put this on. My dogs just like, they just are. It smells so good. It kind of smells like, this one's mango, I think, is what you got in it. And
no, mango
butter.
Sorry, keep going, and then I'll answer. I'm sorry. I'll answer it later. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Mango butter, almond oil, and grapeseed oil, right? But,
correct,
dude. That's whatever scent that is. It's insane.
The mango butter is more unscented, but it's more of like we just wanted a natural beeswax mango butter for like the texture. Scent it's called number 13. Scent number 13. My brother thought of it. It's like, it's just his number. He likes 13, and he was bringing up concoctions, and it was the 13th one. He's like, I'm just gonna make this how I would make it. We were playing with some of the scents, but number 13 is actually, because it's a little bit far from mango. It's a mix of bergamot, which is kind of like a citrusy. It's probably where you get the citrus.
That's what I smell.
But it also
citrus,
has Palo Santo and sandalwood. So you'll also get like, it's very woody. It's kind of like a musky cologne with a hint of with a hint of citrus.
Dude, it's so fucking awesome. I love it.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
If you have a beard,
I'll tell my brother.
If you have the If you have the ability to grow a beard, I mean, and I've gotten like the stuff from there's like I got some other balm and I like that one too. I'm not gonna say that there's really a lot of really great balms out there.
Mhm.
Instantly this was my favorite. Like I haven't opened my other one since, and I use it every day. I mean, I'm showering. I wore it tonight. I showered right before we started recording, and I love the way my beard looks. Yeah, this is good shit.
Look at it, man.
Good for you, man.
This is a perfect
Good for
picture of
you.
like this is how mangy it can look if you're not using it, and then look at Andres. Look at Andres. It looks incredible.
Yeah, dude, I'm so excited about it. So cool, brother. And I guess what's in, you said the future, you got some stuff with, you kind of talked a little bit about that, but if you had to like, if you had to do North Star, what's end goal with this? And then I can ask you some rapid fire Southwestern questions and wrap this
Yeah,
one up.
man, I love it. So North Star with Brudders, it'd probably be more of that masculine goal. Coming back to what I was talking about earlier, it's like we'd love to have a couple of thousand people picking this up every year. We'd love to hear back from our clients. I more want to turn our Instagram at Brudders Beards. I'd like to turn that, which I'm sure you also put in the handle. I'd like to turn that into like a more entertainment. I think it'd be fun, entertaining, and I really am using it as just like a fun way to interact with people that are using it, so like potential follower, people that aren't using it and just following us, people that want to talk shit, because it's like that hockey humor that we have on our Instagram page. Like, hey, right now I said that I'm in Africa breaking a hex because our team is on breaking a curse because our team's on a 3-game skid. So I'm like learning from all the local animals, like different things we can bring in. So it's just like trying to follow the team and follow the journey of Brudders, and just following me being an asshole, like an idiot. It's more of like just a fun, easygoing, charismatic Dillon outlet. And I'd love to have a couple of thousand people in the community, because again, this comes back to creating a fun community of like-minded people, and these like-minded people are just sometimes the sarcastic assholes.
Yeah, that's great. I identify, and I love, and I have a beard, which is clutch.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
that's epic. Okay, so we're gonna go into some ponytails. I'm gonna ask you some rapid fire questions while you kind of mull your like in the background, and that might trigger really fun story from your time selling books that you really enjoy and love. You've told us one before in your last episode, but if you can think of a different one, or if it's the same one, go for it. But here's some rapid fire questions
real
that
quick,
might trigger some memories.
What did I say before, so I can also think of a different story? Do you remember?
Damn it. And I did. I listened to your episode earlier, and I can't remember what the ponytail was because of the lawyer thing. Doesn't matter. Just tell me the one that comes to mind. It's okay.
Cool.
And if this, who cares? People might not even go back and listen to that episode, so who gives a shit? They probably won't. Okay. So, quick rapid fire. Favorite territory, and this is going into way 180, going into Southwestern. Favorite territory that you sold in, like favorite place you sold in.
Favorite place, Maryland. Southern Maryland was so fun, man. Territory is like populated country.
That was going to be the next one.
Definitely about it's definitely about the turf. Like whoever says it's not, it's like I don't know. Like, stuff like you should match people with personalities, and yes, the turf matters. Sorry, populated country. People doing pretty decent. Like I'd say like middle to higher income. I love driving around. Yeah. I listen to music in between doors. I'm definitely not one of those people. I don't listen. Someone told me like, "Hey, have you ever heard of Ron Alfred's Advance?" And I'm like, "No, never have once listened to him." But Southern Maryland, populated country.
Yeah, dude, it was funny. We were talking about somebody else. Two episodes ago, someone said low income turf, and I think that between low income and middle high income is like the turf where like people who live in double wides are rich. Good stuff. That's what you want, and it's just all double wides. Yeah.
I don't like big brick, but it's like that was my sweet spot.
Yeah. I was gonna ask favorite advanced sales tape, but it sounds like you don't have one. You can go with just the Mort Utley speech.
Favorite advanced sales tape would be the CDs that my girlfriend at the time, now wife, would make me, and she made me a really good one that had a bunch of Milky chants on it. I want you by my side. So that I want you. We can bring it on the floor. I used to sing that one time. Someone I had a first year following me, and I literally, to annoy her, I put it on repeat for the entire day. And I did not listen to a different song. So we'd get back in the car and we just play that song.
We don't talk about. It's all good. I love it. Favorite HQ.
Sorry, I was farting. Favorite HQ. I knocked for a house every year. So I found my own out of people that I sold to. Damn, favorite HQ. That's a tough one. Let me go through real quick. First year. Oh, my last summer, dude. My last summer was like we knocked. They used to sell books. The Pitney family is incredible. Michael Pitney, Kathy Pitney. They had a daughter, Alex, and then a son, Fred. And they were so nice. They said that they weren't going to do it again, and then they decided to do it again. We live with them. They've done well for themselves. Michael, the dad, awesome guy, really took us under his wing.
He sold
They
books?
were very welcoming. He sold books. Yeah. I'll get him on
Bro,
podcast.
we're doing, dude, so listen to this. So, and we're recording this early enough that we can have it still work. But for the last season episode, so for the next episode, we're trying to have host families, like a panel of host families, and ask them about their experience being host families.
I'll definitely reach out
but
to them,
preferably
reach
if
out.
they sold books. So yeah.
I'll reach out.
That'd be fun.
I'll reach
Okay,
out for
cool. Favorite product to sell when you were selling? I was like the one that you got most excited about to sell.
Yeah, like I love college prep, man, because it's like I just didn't take college prep serious.
Yeah.
So like I love the college.
Great.
I love the. Oh, all right. I got two stories too. I'll save this. Of why
I knew
excited.
this was gonna trigger a story.
Yeah. Why I got so excited to sell college prep. I named it something different, and it got me pulled over by eight police cars came into this neighborhood to pull me over. So that great cliffhanger, Dillon. But the college package.
Hell yeah, I like it. Your favorite overall summer?
Second summer. I like my first summer, long hair, low self-confidence.
Yeah, we talked about
wanted to get away. Right, wanted to get away. Literally between first and second summer, I did the Think and Grow Rich process of like saying how much I wanted to make, who I wanted to be, who I wanted to attract, all my goals. Literally wrote down I want to date the girl of my dreams, and I put her initials in it, MF. And then I went out that second summer, cut my hair, crushed, made good money, self-confidence. The woman that I wanted to date, MF Morgan Frankie, asked me out at the end of the summer, and we're now married on our honeymoon, and she's taking a nap up in our Airbnb right now.
That's so cool. I think that was your ponytail. I think it was how you made
Yeah,
your
I
life,
think that
actually.
was
I can't remember. I can't, or maybe I asked you about that after. Anyway, okay. Best sales day. It could be your favorite or or just the most production. I don't care either way, but like
Yeah,
one that you're like,
man.
man, that was a good sales day.
Anytime I had somebody following me, it was really, really fun. It's funny because I'm in Africa, and the first one that comes to mind, Ben Clem, book guy, working in Kenya, living in Kenya, which is awesome. He followed me, and I remember he told me one time, he's like, dude, the day that I followed you, for some reason, I can't get the memories out of my head. I think it was a burger day. It was probably a little bit higher than a burger day. It was like so. But we were just doing the dumbest shit in this area, man. I would, like, if the kids came to the door, I'd ask if I could jump in people's. There was one kid swimming, and I said, I bet you I can hold my breath longer than you. And like he held his breath, and I was like standing on the outside of this above ground pool, and I just like slammed my face in the water and tried to hold my breath. We ate food with people. It was just like I don't know, man. It was like one of those like weird nostalgic days. Yeah. I look back at that day the way that I look back at that day the way I look back at like a psychedelic trip, where I'm like, oh, I learned so much. Same thing. It's like I look back, I'm like, oh, it's like burned into my brain.
Outer body experience, phenomenal stuff.
Yes.
And then the last one, favorite breakfast spot.
Oh my god.
Second
summer when we crushed
waffle.
Okay, no, it wasn't. It was a place called the Frying Pan, and it was I think it was my third summer. No, okay, no. Okay, I'll give you two. My fourth summer was back in Maryland. It was called the Frying Pan. It was just really funny to go to because everyone knew who we were, and like the waitress had like a crush. She was like this older smoker that had a crush on all of us. We'd always come in. We always had our routines. Like we knew who was dumping first and second every day. So it was just like a funny group. And then when we were my third summer, we were in Navasota. Carol's Giant Burger with Christian DeBay and Justin Sweeney, just because we had the best execs at that place. The Frying Pan restaurant. Yep.
There it is.
Yeah, man, that
What was the other place
wild.
called?
I think it's Carol's Giant Burger. No, Carol's Giant Burger in Navasota, Texas. There we go, dude. This place, they had a
They all look the
drive-through.
same, bro.
They had a drive-through, and one of our execs, we would pretend to kick imaginary soccer balls at any of the cars just waiting in line at the drive-through, and they would watch us as we just pretended to like kick things at their car. Right there, that was the drive-through. That's literally where we were standing to pretend to kick things. We would also cast like Harry Potter spells on them, man. It was the best.
Some Wingardium Leviosa shit right there.
Yes.
So good. All right, my man. It's time for your ponytails. Tell me about your blue light special.
Yes. Eight cop cars. So this was my first summer. Still liked selling it at the time. It was
long hair.
Yeah, long hair, bandana, like wore a bandana, and I had like knee-high socks with shorts on. And I would, just because I wanted to be authentic, I wore a mala, which is like, but you could see it. So it's like literally looked very, very sketchy. I would sell Kaplan. It was Kaplan at the time for SAT, ACT prep. It was CDs that probably didn't work when you put them in your computer. No, they did. AP class prep and essays, right? You could sell that as a package. It was like the college entrance. I think they ended up turning it into that. We didn't have a name for it then, but maybe we did. But I did not call it the college entrance exam. I called it the college bomb. I wanted to get people ready for college. And when I was doing my pre-approach, I would draw my pre-approach. I'd write all the houses and circles, and I'd go knock in those areas. And you do your approach, and then they say no. You get your pre-approach, and you're like, okay, well, next door, like are the kids passed? Are they empty nesters? They got kids in school. So anytime that some people would say, oh, kindergarten, I'd write K. Middle school, I'd write MS. Right, high school, HS. But I'm like, okay, high school, like getting ready to get out, or are they early high school? Like, oh no, they're actually like they're junior. So instead of writing 11th or junior SAT, ACT, I wrote the word bomb because I didn't want to write college bomb either. So I just wrote bomb on my pre-approach.
This is so good because I know where this is going, and even the kids that just got done selling books don't understand because they have Sales Rabbit. They don't do paper maps
they have
anymore.
Sales Rabbit,
so
man. I was writing this shit out. So
on
I was
notepad,
writing
on
out
a yellow legal notepad.
Like yellow legal notepad,
killer.
street signs, like streets. This is the street. This is how many houses in. I would circle it because you circle it if you're coming back later, and I would write the word bomb. And if you were looking at a given pre-approach pad, it could have 3 or 4 bombs written on it.
And you were selling in a religious high school where like the high school kids were all going to like a Catholic school, and so it was like every one of these bombs were at the Catholic school family.
Exactly.
Like, just of course it had to be like something really fucked up like that.
So I'm knocking it.
Even if that's not true, you should make that part of the story because that's really fun.
Not, but I'm going to add it. Right? I was saying yes, and I'm like that's not, but I want to lie because it makes it better. My kids will know it as like it was the Catholic schools. But no, man, I was knocking. Of course, someone called the cops on me, and I was like, I was walking the area. I was getting ready to come back to my house or come back to my car. And granted, also my first summer I was smoking, so I had like a one hitter in there. This is back when it was illegal. This is in Minnesota. I'm a one hitter in my car and everything, and I'm walking back to my car, and I see a cop looking in my window, and he's looking in the window where I know my dugout is, and I'm like, this is weird. And he's like talking in his radio and stuff, and I'm like, hey sir, can I help you? And he's like, hey, that's close enough, son. Could you just sit on the ground real quick? And I'm like, okay. So like sit on the ground, really nervous, like what the hell's going on? And he's like, is this your car? And he's kind of talking to me. He's like, cool. I just we got a couple of calls. Can you come here? And and I walked over. I opened the door and made sure to make sure he wasn't seeing where the dugout was. And he's like, could you show me those legal pads? And I'm showing him the legal pads. And he's like, they have bomb written all over them. So he's asking, he's like, what are these about? But as he's saying that, it's like no one else knows context of this story. 8 other cops come, and I'm like sitting down with like 8 cop cars, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to keep knocking in this area. But I eventually kind of told them what I was doing and why I called it that. And they're like, that's a really dumb thing to write on a piece of paper. I was like, yeah, I've learned my lesson. Stupid, man. Absolutely stupid.
You could have written nuke. You could have written boom. You could have written
I could have just written 11th grade. I could have written SAT. I could have written ACT. I could have written just college, but I wrote bomb.
Cap.
Idiot. Absolute idiot.
Don't write bomb.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about that anymore using
your
Sales Rabbit.
approach. Wow, that's a great story. And also, by the way, yes, we did talk about how you met your wife, your how I met your mother story on the last one. I do remember now because you did tell me this.
Go back
story.
and watch 23. Skip to the end.
It's really emotional. It's really good.
That was awesome, man.
Oh, good
It was a fun
stuff,
2.5
bro.
hours, man. It was a very fun 2.5 hours,
is,
and I appreciate it.
This has been great. I love it, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. Okay, one more time to if you guys are looking for a place to work so you can earn some extra cash, you're good at sales, and you have multiple summer experience, go talk to Dillon about working at Thought Leader. He can hook you up with a solid sales gig. If you guys are wanting to have your creative, muscles stretched and contorted and exercised, go check out Unfound Anamnesis on YouTube. We can actually probably, if you guys would be down, we could probably feature your channel on ours, by the way, to just generate that vibe. But go check it out. It's on YouTube. Go join this Facebook group if you want to contribute. I know I've sent a couple book people already towards you guys, and I think it's cool what you're doing. I'm excited. Go check out the links below. You can buy Dillon's books. You can buy. By the time this is out, you can probably have a link or about to have a link. If you're listening to this in January, you can probably already have. You can join the launch team to help join and launch the comic book that is being worked on. And then, last but not least, if you have a beard and you're a man, or if you forgot a cool Christmas stocking gift that you can still get people, or Valentine's Day is coming up, or whatever holiday is happening now that you're listening to this. If it's Dad's Week in the middle of the summer and you're listening to this, because both kids listen to this, go get your dad some cool beard balm and butter from Brudders Beards. There's probably going to be at some point some sort of affiliate code that we can figure out to do here. We'll give you guys some discount on that. My man, Dillon, thank you so much for being here. Any last thoughts before we close this one up?
No, man, thank you so much for having me. I think the cool thing, just the last thing for any book person that's watched this far, thank you. It's 2.5 hours of us just shooting the shit. Man, like the biggest thing that I've realized this year of what I want to do, especially when like economy is weird, is I don't personally, this might not be for you, but it is for me. I don't like investing in real estate. It's boring to me. I don't want to invest in crypto. I don't want to invest in stocks. I want to invest in myself. So if you have that feeling, invest in yourself, like trust yourself. And I think it's the coolest thing to invest in. So that's my last send off.
Close with that. That's phenomenal, man. Well, happy honeymoon. Thank you for sharing this time with us during your honeymoon. Enjoy Africa. And I will continue conversations with you across the planet, across the board from all these things. Looking forward to helping you launch your podcast.
Thanks, brother. Go ahead and do it. Take care.
That's right, sir. We'll see you guys later. My name is Andres Gamboa. We've been with Dillon Barr. Go check out the season finale up next. And if you're listening to this on the premiere, it's up tomorrow. So go check it out. Thank you guys so much. My name is Andres Gamboa. This has been the Podcast.